Chapter 1401. Yes, Hu Yinyang agreed after thinking about it. In that case, her master could only rely on the power of the imperial sect. However, the imperial sect did not have any power in the western wilderness. With the power of the southern region and Wild City, it would be difficult to fight against the Ouyang family and the Hua family. Hu Yinyang left with a worried look. In the Ouyang family, Feng Wan received the news from the Ouyang family. He sneered in his heart. Evil physician Gui Tong, you really agreed? Feng Wan had expected this. As long as Luo Qingtong was not stupid, she would definitely agree to come to the Sage Monarch's Tomb Conference. Now it seemed that it was true. Young master, please arrange an identity for me. The kind that can appear in front of people openly. My status can't be low. Feng Wan looked at Ouyang Xiao and said, she wanted to appear in the Sage Monarch's Tomb Conference to deal with Luo Qingtong. She wanted to get back some of the interest from before. Okay. Ouyang Xiao hurriedly agreed when he heard this. Will the Holy Doctor appear in the Sage Monarch's Tomb Conference as my fiancé? This way, we can avoid people who don't have eyes looking for trouble with the Holy Doctor. We can also deal with Yi Jiao. Ouyang Xiao looked at Feng Wan with an infatuated and fawning expression. Okay. Feng Wan was very satisfied. The fiancé of the Ouyang family's young master was indeed of very high status. It was enough for her to deal with Luo Qingtong. While Feng Wan and Ouyang Xiao were talking, the Hua family head had already reached an agreement with the other top families. Among these families, some were already preparing to contact Luo Qingtong. After all, as long as they had the Sage Monarch's tomb map, they did not mind cooperating with family Hu and Yusi Huang. Moreover, they had no enmity with family Hu and Luo Qingtong. As long as they could give the corresponding conditions, including supporting family Hu, they would definitely cooperate with them. However, before they could do anything, the head of the Hua family had already come knocking on their door. Not only that, but he also said that the Ouyang family had already asked him to cooperate. It was said that the Ouyang family had made it clear that they would not participate in the fight for the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. However, the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb must not fall into the hands of family Hu. The people from the top clans fell silent. Helping family Hu meant going against the Ouyang family. The price was too high. It was far better to work with the Hua family. After all, both sides had the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. Their chances of winning were too high. Almost without any hesitation, the group of people from the top clans agreed to the proposal of the Hua family head. Meanwhile, the Ouyang clan's invitation to the Sage Monarch's tomb had already reached them. Looking at the invitation card, Patriarch Hua couldn't help but laugh out loud. The Ouyang clan really keeps their word. The Sage Monarch's tomb is the perfect time to make a move. The Hua family head was indescribably proud of himself, and his face was full of confidence. The Sage Monarch's Tomb Conference was being held by the Ouyang clan, and the Ouyang clan was on their side. When Luo Qingtong and the others arrived, they would make a move and guarantee that the other party would not be able to escape even if they had wings. The Ouyang clan's move was too good. At that time, would Luo Qingtong and the others still not hand over the Sage Monarch's tomb map? The Hua family head sneered. Chapter 1402. So, Tong, you wanted to contact those forces in the southern mountain range. Yusi Huang's pair of slanted phoenix eyes slightly raised. Then he looked at Luo Qingtong with a charming face and said, then what benefits do I get? Yusi Huang had been tricked by Luo Qingtong several times. The kisses and hugs that he wanted, he didn't even get a single one. This time, he was determined to succeed at least once. You have to know, if it's my Imperial Sex forces, I will definitely agree without a second word. Who asked me to like you? But his eyes flashed with a charming light. This time, it's not my Imperial Sex-owned forces. The forces in the 3 islands and 7 lands, I can barely command them, but other forces, I still have to discuss cooperation with them. You have to pay a lot of price. Yusi Huang raised his hand and stroked the tear mole under his eye. Smiling extremely charming and enchanting, he said, Tong, don't you think you should properly thank me? And properly thank you. Luo Qingtong said indifferently. I want to take action. Yu Si Huang looked at Luo Qingtong with a face full of hidden bitterness. Every time she played word games with him, for example, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. "Give me a kiss, and I'll go immediately." Yu Si Huang raised his hand and pointed at his lips. The smile on his face became even more enchanting and charming. "Oh, then forget it." Luo Qingtong looked at him leisurely. "You can choose not to go, and when those people make trouble, I'll just say that I gave you the map. Anyway, those people's biggest goal is the map of the Saint King's tomb. What do you think?" "Not very good." Yu Si Huang's handsome face, when Luo Qingtong's words sounded, had already collapsed. This person really didn't give him any advantage at all. Yu Si Huang's face was gloomy. "I'll contact the southern region's forces right away." As he spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong and said seriously, "However, the situation this time is obviously not right. I also received news that the Hua family seems to have joined forces with the Ouyang family and other top families. If that's the case, even if I gather all the forces on my side, we may not be able to deal with them. I think you should consider releasing a map of the Sage Monarch's tomb and let them fight amongst themselves. That way, they won't suffer any losses and affect our plans to enter the Sage Monarch's tomb later." Yu Si Huang's suggestion was very pertinent. After all, Luo Qingtong had more than one map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in her hands. She could release one of them and let the top families in Wild City fight for it, breaking the Hua family's alliance. However, Yu Si Huang did not know that Feng Yuan was behind the Ouyang family. With the latter's hatred for Luo Qingtong, even if Luo Qingtong did not have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in her hands, she would not let Luo Qingtong go. What's more, the Hua family, Luo Qingtong and family, who had already formed a grudge. When the time came, even if there was no map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, the other party would still make a move. In that case, what difference did it make whether or not she released a map of the Saint Monarch's tomb? Luo Qingtong had never liked being forced to do things. If she was willing to give, others could take it. If she was not willing to give, no one could take it. If anyone dared to reach out and snatch it, she would chop off their hands. Chapter 1403. She didn't refute and only nodded at him. "Yes, I understand." The latter also nodded at her, then turned around and left to prepare. On the day of the Sage Monarch's tomb meeting, Luo Qingtong brought family, whose people to the Ouyang residence. Yu Si Huang didn't go with her. He had consolidated the forces of the southern mountain range and had to stay there to preside over the overall situation. Yu Xingqi was also called over to help. Luo Qingtong and the others arrived at the gate of the Ouyang residence. When the guard of the Ouyang residence heard that they were family whose people, he immediately glanced at Luo Qingtong and then sent someone to report inside. At the same time, he let Luo Qingtong and the others in. Luo Qingtong looked at the guard's action of running inside and suddenly raised her eyebrows. She didn't say anything and directly walked inside. In the inner courtyard, when Feng Yuan heard that Luo Qingtong and family whose people had arrived, he sneered and stood up. He said to the group of maidservants and guards behind him, "Let's go, we'll walk around the front courtyard. Bring the thing I want." "Yes." The group of maidservants and guards replied in unison. The maidservant at the front carried a small basket in her hand. Inside the basket, there seemed to be something moving inside. The group of people walked toward the front courtyard in a grandiose manner. Luo Qingtong and the others were already close to the inner courtyard's venue. Along the way, they met many people from other clans. The further in they went, the more people they met from other clans. Just as Luo Qingtong and the others turned a corner and were about to see the martial arts arena in front of them, a low cry suddenly came from not far away. "Ah, Imbao!" Suddenly hearing such a voice, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly turned cold. She then turned her head to look in the direction of the voice. "Ayo, ayo!" At this time, a small silver figure pounced at Luo Qingtong. It howled in a low voice, with the milky breath of a cub. Luo Qingtong subconsciously wanted to raise her hand to catch it. At this time, an attack suddenly blasted on the small silver figure. Boom! The small silver figure was instantly hit by the attack, and fell to the ground, crying out in grief. "I'm sorry. My silver fox must have disturbed everyone." A woman wearing a white gauze robe, surrounded by a group of maidservants and guards, walked over from the inner courtyard of the Ouyang residence. The woman's face was delicate, and her temperament was cold. She had a noble and cold aura. She looked very noble and unapproachable. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at the woman. "She's to the Ouyang residence, and the other clans to the Ouyang family, and the others and the other clans, the Ouyang clans ts the clan." I didn't expect it to be so wild and hard to tame. It actually went berserk and hurt people. It even scratched my hand. "I'm really sorry." Following the woman's voice, everyone looked at her hands. Sure enough, they saw several deep scratches on the back of her left hand. The scratches were fresh, and the blood was still seeping out. It was obvious that she'd just been scratched. When everyone looked at the scratches, the woman's cold voice sounded again. "This little bastard attacked people and almost hurt our distinguished guests. This is unforgivable. Beat him." Chapter 1404. Two guards appeared behind her. They raised the whips in their hands and lashed out at the silver fox on the ground. Ow, ow! The silver fox lay on the ground, its fur soaked in blood. It had been injured by the previous attack. Now it was lying on the ground, being lashed by the whips. It cried out in pain. As it cried out, it kept looking in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Its eyes were full of longing and hope, as if it was looking at the light of its salvation. "Master!" Hu Yinyang looked at the scene and was very surprised. What was going on? Why was Silver Baby here? Didn't Master say that it had been taken away? Could it be that there was an accident? Hu Yinyang looked at Luo Qingtong. She knew how much her master treasured the silver fox. If anyone dared to touch it, her master wouldn't let them off. "It's not Silver Baby." Luo Qingtong glanced at the silver fox and knew that it wasn't her silver baby. It wasn't just because the fox's claws weren't wearing the Shurfang dragon ring, but because the fox's eyes weren't right. After all, the ring could be taken off. Besides, that ring originally belonged to Yi Qianxian. It wasn't surprising that someone else could take it off the silver fox's claws. But the eyes wouldn't lie. Her silver baby's eyes were very similar to Yi Qianxian's. Even when it was playing around and acting cute, there was always a hint of disdain in its eyes. It was disdain for itself. But even if it was so disdainful, it was still willing to act cute and play around for her. And when her silver baby was bullied, it wouldn't look at her as if she was its savior. It would only look at those who dared to bully it coldly, like a king. And when she saved it, it would still look at her with disdain and depression. This was just a silver fox, not her silver child. Luo Qingtong was stunned for a moment at first, but then she reacted. But even if the other party wasn't Silver Baby, Luo Qingtong still felt very uncomfortable seeing this little fox that looked so similar to Silver Baby being whipped and abused, especially since the person behind the scenes was obviously targeting her. Although the silver fox was not Silver Baby, it had been deliberately trained to look like Silver Baby in order to deal with it. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. At that moment, the woman noticed her gaze and sneered inwardly. "Does evil Dr. Ghost, I feel heartache?" The smile on Feng Wan's lips turned slightly cold. There would be even more heart-wrenching things to come. That's right, this woman was Feng Wan, who had appeared as Ouyang Xiao's fiancée. She had prepared the silver fox specifically for Luo Qingtong. She had already found out everything about Luo Qingtong, or rather, Yi Jiao in Family Who. She knew that the latter had a silver fox that she liked very much and treated it like a treasure. She immediately thought that it must have been a gift from Yi Qianxian. Because only something from Yi Qianxian could make evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who had always been cold and unrestrained, care so much. When Feng Wan found out about it, she was so angry that her eyes turned red. She had specially asked the Ouyang family to find a silver fox for her. Using a little trick, she had trained it to look like Silver Baby. She had been waiting for this day. Coincidentally, the silver fox beside Luo Qingtong also disappeared at this moment. The heavens were really helping her. Chapter 1405. She was waiting for Luo Qingtong to lose her patience and ask her for the little fox. It would be best if she mistook the little fox for Silverbow. That way, she would have more ways to deal with the other party. With that thought in mind, Feng Yuan ordered the two guards to whip the little fox even more viciously. The two of them had received Feng Yuan's orders in advance. They whipped the little fox as hard as they could, but they purposely didn't harm the little fox's life. With this, the little fox's cries became even more mournful. Feng Yuan's methods made many people frown. These people were from families in Wildland City, so they were naturally used to seeing blood. But even so, they still felt pity for a cub that didn't have much actual killing power. Seeing that the little silver fox had been beaten to such a state, and Feng Yuan didn't seem to be prepared to let it go, they all frowned. They felt that the other party's heart was a bit too ruthless. This little fox had done something wrong. She could have killed it, but why torture it like this? Furthermore, she clearly knew that it was a little fox that she had picked up and hadn't trained yet. She had carelessly vented her anger on a little animal that didn't even have the strength to fight back. Wasn't that too shameless? Feng Yuan naturally saw the changes in everyone's eyes. But she didn't care. It was just that Luo Qingtong didn't move, but Feng Yuan was starting to lose her cool. This little fox had been abused by her a few times before. It was already strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. It wouldn't live for much longer. And just now, she had purposely provoked it to run towards Luo Qingtong. On top of that, she had hit it and whipped it. No matter how careful the two guards were, it wouldn't be able to survive for long. At that time, her plan to deal with Luo Qingtong would all be for naught. Thinking of this, she suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "This must be Lord Yi Jiao, right?" Luo Qingtong's hair was tied up with a jade crown. She was wearing a thin green robe. Although her face was disguised, she still looked delicate and handsome. Hearing Feng Yuan's question, she raised her eyebrows and looked at her. "Here it comes," she sneered in her heart. The other party really couldn't hold it in anymore. "Feng Yuan." Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. Long ago, when she thought that the person behind the scenes was coming for her, Luo Qingtong had already activated her eye technique. At this moment, Feng Yuan's true appearance after disguising herself was completely exposed before her eyes. The other party didn't have the same strength as Yi Qianren to be able to conceal her true appearance. At this moment, in front of Luo Qingtong's eye technique, it was completely exposed. "It's really her." Luo Qingtong sneered in her heart. "Miss, why did you call me?" She looked at Feng Yuan as if she didn't know the other party's identity at all. No reason. Feng Yuan really didn't expect that Luo Qingtong could see through her identity at a glance. She looked at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, "I just want to know why this little silver fox kept looking at you mournfully when it was being tortured. What's going on? I heard that when you were at family, you also had a little fox by your side called Imbao. I wonder where that little fox is now." Since the first plan didn't work, she had to come up with another one. Since Luo Qingtong didn't ask her for the little fox, then she would directly pin the identity of the little fox on Luo Qingtong. According to what Feng Yuan knew, the little fox by Luo Qingtong's side had disappeared for several days. If it hadn't run away, then it had been taken away by someone. Since that was the case, wouldn't it be easy for her to say the identity of the little fox? As long as she could confirm the identity of this little fox, she would be able to accuse Luo Qingtong of harboring evil intentions and allowing a fox to commit murder. Chapter 1406. "Oh, do you mean that this little fox is mine?" Luo Qingtong looked at Feng Yuan. "Isn't it?" Feng Yuan's eyes were cold. He raised his head and looked down at Luo Qingtong. "I suddenly picked up this little fox a few days ago. At that time, I was wondering why such a little silver fox would come to the Ouyang family. From the looks of it, this little fox was sent by you on purpose, right? Just to win my sympathy, you left this little fox in the Ouyang family and waited for it to suddenly come out and hurt people on a big day like today's banquet." Feng Yuan looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and said in a deep voice, "Ninth young master, I don't know what grudges you have with the Ouyang family. How dare you harm us like this?" As she spoke, The expression on her face had already turned stern. "So, you're sure that this little fox is mine?" Luo Qingtong's expression did not change. She just looked at her indifferently. If an ordinary person encountered such a thing, they would have been furious. No matter how bad it was, they would be a little surprised. Luo Qingtong's face was expressionless. Feng Yuan was a little unsure of what Luo Qingtong wanted to do. She asked with a cold look, "Isn't it? If it isn't, how do you explain that this little silver fox ran to you when it saw you and deliberately hurt people? Now, when it was being tortured, it was desperately looking at you. Ninth young master, if you insist on not admitting it, then please take out the little silver fox beside you. If I've wronged you, I'll apologize to you immediately." Before Feng Yuan could finish his words, Luo Qingtong's cold voice sounded. "You really should apologize to me." At this point, Luo Qingtong had already stepped out from the crowd of family who. She looked coldly at Feng Yuan and the others and said coldly, "You beat up my little fox like this. I do want an explanation from you and the Ouyang family." "You." When Feng Yuan heard Luo Qingtong's words, he was obviously stunned. He never thought that Luo Qingtong would admit it. Did she admit that this little fox was hers? Feng Yuan's mind was a little confused. He did not react for a while. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong should be trying her best to defend herself. However, he continued to force her. Luo Qingtong could not prove that this little fox was not her little fox. She could only bear the blame of being a scheming schemer with the intention to harm the Ouyang family. What was going on now? Even with Feng Yuan's intelligence and level of scheming, his brain was suddenly stuck in a shell. He could not wrap his head around it for a long time. He did not know what Luo Qingtong was trying to do. The other party admitted it just like that? Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong and did not say anything for a while. Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others behind Luo Qingtong were also shocked. When Feng Yuan asked Luo Qingtong just now, they already knew that the other party was deliberately targeting Luo Qingtong. However, like Feng Yuan, they could not understand why Luo Qingtong admitted it so directly. Wasn't this giving the other party a chance to make things difficult for her? As Hu Yinyang thought of this, he could not help but take a step forward and wanted to call out Luo Qingtong. "Gong!" When the words were about to come out of her mouth, she suddenly thought of something and swallowed them back. Chapter 1407. Your little fox came to our Ouyang family for no reason. Not only did it attack us, but it also ran into the crowd on purpose. If the people of the other clans are hurt, wouldn't our Ouyang clan be the scapegoat for no reason? I haven't even asked you if you had any ulterior motives, and you want us to apologize to you. What do you mean? Feng Yuan's face hardened as he spoke. Exactly what I said. Luo Qingtong looked at him calmly. You also said that my little fox came to your place for no reason. Since you knew that it was called Silver Bow and that I had a little silver fox with me, you deliberately kept it in the Ouyang family so that I couldn't find it during this period of time. That's not all. You deliberately let it out at this time to attack people and then beat it up in front of me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she pointed at the little fox that was beaten to its last breath and said coldly, "Shouldn't the Ouyang family be the one apologizing to me? My little fox was beaten to this state by you, and the Ouyang family is still playing the blame game. Are you bullying me and family, who, because we don't have anyone behind us? This debt, I will naturally settle it with the Ouyang clan later, but first I want to collect some interest from you. Break their hands." Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pointed at the two guards who had beaten the little fox. She had seen clearly that each time the two of them hit the little fox, they specifically hit the softest and most vulnerable part of the little fox. They didn't use much strength, but it was very painful. They were so cruel and merciless to a little fox. Even if they were following orders, it was unforgivable, because they clearly didn't have to be so heavy-handed. Yes, following Luo Qingtong's order, people from family Hu's side immediately rushed out. Chu Lingfeng was the first to take the lead and directly crippled the hands of the two guards. His movements were extremely simple and crude. The moment the two guards came face to face with him, they instantly let out a blood-curdling scream. Their hands that were holding the long whips were broken in an instant. It was the kind of fracture that was completely destroyed by brute force. The bones and the flesh were shattered into pieces and could not be reconnected. The hands of these two guards were completely crippled. "You! How dare you?" Feng Yuan gritted her teeth as she watched this scene. She never thought that Luo Qingtong would turn the tables in such a way. The other party's way of thinking simply defied common sense. She was the one who was slandering her. She actually used their slander to deal with them. Shouldn't a normal person, when encountering such a situation, retreat and clear their name first? Luo Qingtong did the opposite. The one who tore people apart was torn apart instead. This was the first time that Feng Yuan had met someone like Luo Qingtong, who was so unscrupulous and domineering that she didn't even suffer a single loss. She gritted her teeth so hard that they were about to bleed. "That little fox came to our Ouyang family on her own accord. Yijio, you're deliberately distorting the truth, slandering us." When Feng Yuan said this, she almost vomited out a mouthful of blood from her heart. She had racked her brains to slander Luo Qingtong, but in the end, the one who was forced to cry out for injustice was herself. There was really nothing that could make her feel more vexed than this. Feng Yuan had always boasted that she was more scheming than others, but time and time again, she had been defeated by Luo Qingtong. It really made her so angry that she almost vomited out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1408. "So, I was the one who told you to keep it? Was I the one who told you to keep it?" Luo Qingtong sneered. "You kept my little fox, deliberately released it when I came to the sage monarch's tomb, and then slandered me for having ulterior motives. You people from the Ouyang clan are stupid, but don't think that others are the same as you. You." Luo Qingtong's words were simply cutting to the heart. When Feng Yuan heard this, he almost couldn't hold back the taste of blood in his throat. Shouldn't Luo Qingtong be the one to say all this? Shouldn't such aggressive and strict questioning be his own lines? If he didn't know the truth of the matter, if he didn't know that this little fox was in fact, he would have found it to cause trouble for Luo Qingtong and slander her. Feng Yuan almost believed that Luo Qingtong was telling the truth. If even she thought so, then there was no need to talk about the others. Feng Yuan was really angry. His body couldn't help but tremble, and he pointed at Luo Qingtong for a long time. Unable to speak for a long time, "Pa!" Luo Qingtong's figure suddenly flashed, and before anyone could react, she had ruthlessly slapped Feng Yuan's face. In an instant, the latter's face swelled up high, like a big white steamed bun. Luo Qingtong's expression was cold. "This slap is a little interest I'm collecting from you on behalf of my silver baby. As for the matter of the Ouyang clan slandering me, I will thoroughly seek justice at the sage monarch's tomb. No need to thank me for showing mercy." As Luo Qingtong spoke, she looked at Feng Yuan, who was in a daze. He hadn't expected to be hit in the first place. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a cold smile. She waved her hand and picked up the dying silver fox. Then, she led Hu Yin-yang and the others away. "Ow, ow." The silver fox whimpered weakly, reaching out its tongue to lick the Luo Qingtong. It had been trained by Feng Yuan to subconsciously search for Luo Qingtong's aura. This was because when it was around Feng Yuan, it would only be able to avoid being beaten if it ran in front of something with this aura. Luo Qingtong lowered her head to look at the little fox in her arms. The latter's entire body was as thin as ribs, and it was extremely hard to touch. Not to mention, the injuries in its body were a ghastly sight. From this, it could be seen what kind of abuse this little guy had suffered in the hands of Feng Yuan. If the real Yinbao had fallen into the hands of the other party, it probably wouldn't have lived to see her again. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, the light in her eyes became even colder. If it weren't for the fact that the timing wasn't right, she definitely wouldn't have let Feng Yuan escape so easily. He dared to use Yinbao to threaten her. Even if it was just a little fox that looked very similar to Yinbao, it would still be the same. After Luo Qingtong and the others had left, the stunned Feng Yuan finally came back to his senses. She screamed angrily, as if she wanted to tear everything in front of her to shreds. Evil Dr. Ghost, I dare to hit her. He dared to hit her. He even called her stupid. Her carefully designed plan to humiliate Luo Qingtong would only end up humiliating herself. Feng Yuan was extremely angry. If that little silver fox was really Luo Qingtong's treasured fox, then so be it. In any case, all the humiliation she had suffered at Luo Qingtong's hands had been avenged by that little fox. Chapter 1409. In other words, she had tried her best to slander Luo Qingtong, but in the end, she had been slandered by the other party. Not only had she not vented her anger, she had also given her carefully planned weakness to the other party. Feng Yuan was truly infuriated. Her exquisite face that was like a celestial being that had been exiled to the mortal world was almost twisted into a ball at this moment. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye! She gritted her teeth and coldly shouted. Every word was extremely cold, just like a ghost. At this time, Ouyang Xiao and the others had received the news and rushed over. Holy Waner, what is going on? In order to make it easier for Feng Yuan to hide her identity, after she became Ouyang Xiao's fiancée, Ouyang Xiao and the others also changed the way they addressed her. When Ouyang Xiao and the others arrived at the scene, they saw the two guards lying on the ground and then looked at Feng Yuan's face. It was obvious that she had been beaten. Ouyang Xiao immediately became angry. The woman he had taken a fancy to was now his fiancée, yet someone dared to beat her. What is going on here? He sternly shouted at the surrounding servants and guards who were as silent as cicadas in winter. It's... The group of servants and guards did not dare to hide anything and hurriedly told him what had just happened. At this time, Feng Yuan's voice rang out and cut them off. It's family who's Yi Jiao. Feng Yuan's eyes were cold. When I asked you to find me that little silver fox, I originally wanted to anger her. In the end, she directly said that the little silver fox was the one she raised and directly took it away. She even slapped me and crippled the two guards beside me. Feng Yuan's expression was cold. Her words, at first, seemed to be the same as the previous facts. But in reality, there was a big difference. Luo Qingtong became the bully who took advantage of her power and forcefully took her fox. And Feng Yuan completely became a victim. She didn't mention that she had tried to use the silver fox to slander Luo Qingtong and harm the Ouyang family. She made herself sound innocent. But if she really wanted to say that she was lying, she really didn't. The maids and guards of the Ouyang family felt that something was wrong with her words, but they couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. When Ouyang Xiao asked them if that was the case, they could only agree. What good Yi Jiao? Ouyang Xiao's expression was cold. How dare you be impudent in our Ouyang clan? Let's go to the venue. Ouyang Xiao angrily led a group of people in the direction of the martial arts practice field. Luo Qingtong had already sat down with family whose people were arranged in a very special position. They were actually seated at the very front, much closer to the front than the seats of the big families in Wilderness City. The guards of the Ouyang clan explained to the people of the other clans that this was because family Hu and Luo Qingtong had a map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. They were discussing how to enter the tomb together, so naturally they had to sit at the front. But Luo Qingtong noticed that their seats were surrounded by people from the top clans, and the whole clan was right across from them. This was getting interesting. Luo Qingtong gently stroked the silver fox in her arms, but she wasn't as enthusiastic as when she was with Yi Qianxian. This silver fox was different from Yinbao. After saving this little guy, Luo Qingtong became more and more aware of this fact. She originally thought that Yinbao was a gift from Yi Qianxian, plus it was a cute silver fox. That was why she was so indulgent and fond of it. Chapter 1410. At this moment, the little silver fox that had been rescued was 70 to 80% similar to Silver Bao. Furthermore, it had been trained by Feng Yuan to be very close and attached to her. The way it looked at her was also unusually passionate and affectionate. However, Luo Qingtong didn't have the same feelings as she did for Silver Bao. She teased the little silver fox in her arms. The latter's injuries had already completely healed. The hidden injuries inside had also been completely healed by Luo Qingtong's pupil technique. At this moment, it was snuggling up to Luo Qingtong. Under the girl's teasing, it whined and dodged. Sometimes it didn't even understand what Luo Qingtong was doing. It just stared at her with its round eyes, a little confused and a little silly. In the end, it's nodded. Luo Qingtong was a little disappointed. Her little silver bow was indeed different from the rest. When Luo Qingtong teased it, it would be disdainful and depressed. Then, it would helplessly do as she wished. Little Silver Bow's performance was so intelligent that Luo Qingtong, who had never had a pet before, thought that the little silver fox was a smart and intelligent animal. But now, it seemed that only her silver bow was different. Those eyes were so lively that they didn't seem like they belonged to a little fox cub. Luo Qingtong was disappointed. Suddenly, a thought suddenly flashed through her mind. In this world, is there anyone who can suddenly turn into an animal? She transmitted her voice to Little Pig in her mind. The latter was lying on the ground floor of the 9-story exquisite pagoda, teasing the little golden mouse next to it. Hearing this, it was stunned for a moment. Then it said, "There is, but it has to be a Yao." They were originally Yao in human form. Naturally, they can turn into animals. But Yao cultivation isn't that simple. Most of the Yao's strength can't even turn into human form. Why are you asking? Little Pig asked Luo Qingtong. It's nothing. I was just asking. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, but she was deep in thought. Yi Qianxian shouldn't be a Yao cultivator, right? She hadn't come into contact with other foxes before, so she didn't know. Now that she had come into contact with another little fox, Luo Qingtong realized that Silver Bow was as smart as a spirit. In addition, it had the 10-dragon ring on its claws. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but wonder in her heart. Could it be Yi Qianxian? The human and beast, whether it was their personalities or eyes, they were too similar. Luo Qingtong was deep in thought. If there was a chance in the future, she would go back and test it out. Just as she was thinking about this in her heart, not far away, Ouyang Xiao brought the people of the Ouyang family and walked over aggressively. Not everyone from the assembly of the Sage Monarch's tomb had arrived yet, and the Ouyang clan and the other top aristocratic clans hadn't shown up yet. Therefore, the appearance of Ouyang Xiao and the other top aristocratic clans attracted a lot of attention. Luo Qingtong sensed the commotion in the square and looked toward the source of the commotion. With this glance, he immediately saw Ouyang Xiao and the others walking towards him aggressively with Feng Yuan following behind them. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. "Master," Hu Yinyang whispered beside her. She was very worried. Chapter 14:11. Hu Yinyang's heart was slightly anxious. She hurriedly ordered family whose trusted bodyguard to wait at the entrance of the Ouyang residence. As soon as he saw Yusi Huang and the others arrive, he immediately invited them over. Family whose bodyguard complied, turned around, and quietly blended into the crowd. Yi Jiao, Ouyang Xiao took large strides and walked in front of Luo Qingtong, looking down at the youth sitting in front of her. The youth was wearing a wide robe with narrow sleeves. The collar was slightly open, revealing one side of her delicate collarbone. In her arms, the silver fox, which was already intact as before, was crying softly. It was a silver ball, looking furry and very cute. It arched in Luo Qingtong's arms, its small soft claws pulling at the sleeves of Luo Qingtong's robe, causing Luo Qingtong's sleeves to pull up, revealing a small section of her delicate white wrist. Luo Qingtong's eyebrows were slightly raised. She was wearing a jade crown and a green robe. She clearly had an ordinary appearance, but with this glance, there was an indescribable evil that came from her bones. Even if Ouyang Xiao was concerned about Feng Yuan, seeing this scene, his heart couldn't help but jump. The words he was about to say were stuck in his throat. However, Luo Qingtong's aura only appeared for a moment, and she quickly withdrew it. "I don't know why young Master Ouyang is looking for me," Luo Qingtong's eyebrows were slightly raised as she looked at Ouyang Xiao. The latter also quickly recovered from his previous days. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a very strange gaze. The other party's appearance was clearly very ordinary, nothing more than that. How could he have forgotten to blink when he was looking at her? Ouyang Xiao's heart was filled with doubts, but he didn't forget the purpose of his visit, which was to seek justice for Feng Wan. He immediately said coldly, "Yi Jiao, did you dare to lay your hands on my fiancée just now?" "Your fiancée?" Luo Qingtong said, looking at Feng Wan, who was not far behind him, walking over. Her? Luo Qingtong's heart was ruminating. The former first princess of Great Yong, the #1 genius, was very proud and arrogant. In her eyes, only Yi Qianxian was worthy of Yi Qianxian. Now, she was willing to be Ouyang Xiao's fiancée? Luo Qingtong absolutely didn't believe that Feng Wan wasn't doing this to make it easier for him to deal with her. That's right, Wan'er is my fiancée. When Ouyang Xiao looked at Feng Yuan, his eyes were filled with infatuation. Then, when he looked at Luo Qingtong again, his face was filled with anger, and once Ouyang Xiao's words left his mouth, everyone in the venue instantly looked at Luo Qingtong. The latter was indeed holding a little fox in her arms. Could it be that he really snatched it from young Master Ouyang's fiancée? And he even injured her and the Ouyang family's guards. If that was the case, then this Yi Jiao was really daring. Did he think that with the map of the Saint King's tomb and Yu Sihuang's support, he could do whatever he wanted in Wildland City? The Ouyang family was the top family in Wildland City. Their strength was even stronger than the other top families. Yi Jiao actually dared to provoke them. This time, she was in big trouble. That Imperial Emperor's sect master probably wouldn't protect her for such a matter. Chapter 14:12. Is that what she told you? Luo Qingtong asked in amusement. She looked at Feng Wan with a mocking gaze. Reduced to relying on a man to get back at her, was this the confidence of Feng Wan as the #1 princess and #1 genius of Great Yong? If this was the case, then it was no wonder that she had always lost to her. It was difficult to achieve great things by relying on others. Luo Qingtong thought that Feng Wan would think of some way to deal with her. She did not expect that she would incite Ouyang Xiao to deal with her. How much did she want to suppress her? Did she think that by relying on the Ouyang family, she could make her helpless and bow her head to her? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. On the other side, Ouyang Xiao thought that she was denying it and said coldly, "Is that not the case? The little fox in your hand is..." He was just about to say that he had found this little fox for Feng Wan. However, Feng Wan had previously used this little fox to impersonate Yinbao and vainly try to slander Luo Qingtong for having ulterior motives and wanting to harm the Ouyang family. At that time, there were many people present, and all of them heard what she said. Naturally, she could not let Ouyang Xiao speak the truth and slap her face. She immediately interrupted him. "Forget it, Xiao. Let's leave it at that. On a day like today, don't affect the cooperation between the Ouyang family and the other families because of my matter." After saying this, she suddenly turned to Luo Qingtong and whispered, "Ninth young master, I'll give you this little fox." Feng Wan's words were extremely skillful. She did not mention what had happened before and only spoke from the Ouyang family's point of view. She looked as if she had been wronged and had to bear a heavy burden. Especially the last sentence, "I'll give you." It gave people a feeling of extreme forbearance. Those who knew what had happened just now thought that she was saying that she wanted to return this little fox to Luo Qingtong. But what he didn't know, especially in Ouyang Xiao's ears, it sounded like Luo Qingtong had indeed snatched Feng Wan's fox, but the latter had decided to endure the humiliation for the sake of the Ouyang family and not haggle with the other party. But how was that possible? The woman he fancied was being bullied in her own home. The person who bullied her was her enemy, the person whom he had promised to avenge her. If he let Ouyang Xiao settle the matter peacefully, where would he put his face? What's more, Feng Wan was still his fiancée. Ouyang Xiao was delighted when he heard her call him Xiao. He thought that he was about to capture the heart of the beauty. It was impossible for him to let go of Luo Qingtong so easily. This is impossible. Wan get out of the way. Ouyang Xiao coldly blocked Feng Wan to the side. With a calm expression, he looked at Luo Qingtong and said, Yijio, I'll give you two choices now. 1. Return this little fox to me and kowtow to my fiancée as an apology. I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, he sneered at Luo Qingtong and said, leave that hand of yours behind. Whichever hand you use to hit my fiancée, chop off that hand for me. I'll let you take this little fox away. As he said that, he suddenly raised his hand and pointed at the little fox in Luo Qingtong's arms. Chapter 14:13. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and stroked the silver fox in her arms, soothing its emotions. Then, she looked coldly at Ouyang Xiao and said, is that so? Then I'll give you two choices. 1. Luo Qingtong said indifferently and casually, you and her kneel down and beg for mercy. Maybe I'll consider letting bygones be bygones. 2. The two of you cut off one hand each and give it to me. How about it? Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at Ouyang Xiao and Feng Wan. How dare you? Ouyang Xiao was furious. He gave Luo Qingtong a choice in a condescending manner. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong would take advantage of the situation and directly return the silver fox and apologize to Feng Wan. He didn't expect the latter to return the favor with the same words. This Yijio was really too presumptuous. She thought that this was the Sage Monarch's Tomb Conference, and it was organized by the Ouyangs. In addition, she had the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb in her hands, and she had the backing of the Imperial Emperor sect. Would he not dare to attack her? She was too presumptuous. Based on what she said to him just now, he could attack her. Even if the Imperial Emperor sect's leader questioned them, the Ouyangs would have a reason. Moreover, who knew why the Imperial Emperor sect's leader was helping her and family who? Maybe it was just for the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. He just wanted to look good. So he said that he was helping her and family who? The more Ouyang Xiao thought about it, the more convinced he was. He immediately waved his sleeves and said to the Ouyang's guards, stop family whose people? Yijio, you said you want to take our hands. Let's see who's going to take whose hands. As Ouyang Xiao said this, the aura around him exploded. His entire body was like a fierce tiger descending the mountain, and he went straight for Luo Qingtong. His goal was very obvious, and that was to chop off Luo Qingtong's hands. He wanted her to pay the price for what she said before. A brat from God knows where. With the power of the Imperial sect and family whose map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. How dare they act so presumptuously in front of him? Since she wasn't willing to chop off that hand, then he would do it for her. Bang! Ouyang Xiao's aura exploded. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She raised her hand and pushed Hu Yinyang away. At the same time, he threw the frightened little fox from his arms into the other's arms. Take care of it for me. The little fox's performance made Luo Qingtong realize that Silver Bao was different from the rest. If Silver Bao was here, it would definitely grab onto her clothes tightly and cleverly hide in her arms to protect itself. Would she still use that pair of extremely cold and icy eyes to look at those who dare to hurt her? It looked as if it wanted to remember all those people so that it could settle the score in the future. Silver Bao's intelligence, agility, boldness, and agility, including the murderous aura that seemed to look down on the world when it fought with others, was not something an ordinary little animal could possess. In the past, she only thought that this little fellow had been trained by Yi Qianxian. But now, it seemed that even if it had been trained, it shouldn't have no awareness of danger and a natural fear of small animals. With that thought, Luo Qingtong shook her wrist. The Tempest sword appeared in her hand, and she faced Ouyang Xiao. Chapter 14:14. Bang! An attack suddenly appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. With a boom, it blocked Ouyang Xiao's attack. At the same time, a figure suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Ouyang Xiao. As his figure retreated rapidly, the figure raised his hand and restrained his figure. In the next second, Ouyang Xiao's expression changed rapidly. With a ka sound. In an instant, he screamed miserably. The hand that was attacking Luo Qingtong was forcibly broken and hung by his side. White bones protruded from his wrist, with streaks of dark red blood dripping from them. At the same time, the part of Ouyang Xiao's arm that was restrained by the figure's hand also caved in fiercely. 5 extremely obvious finger marks were imprinted on his arm. The blood, flesh, and bones inside were all crushed. The entire arm was twisted and twisted beyond recognition. Ouyang Xiao screamed miserably while hugging the arm. The person who caused this just flung him away and looked at Luo Qingtong. "Little Jiuer, are you okay?" Yu Si Huang was wearing a red robe. He looked like a raging fire and was extremely gorgeous. It made his already devilishly handsome face even more difficult to look at. Compared to the charming and enchanting purple robe, the red robe Yu Si Huang looked more biting cold and domineering. He looked more like the king of the southern mountain range. As soon as he opened his mouth, the people who were watching all of this cursed in their hearts. How could something happen to Yi Jiao? The one who should be in trouble should be Ouyang Xiao, right? The latter didn't even touch Yi Jiao and was dealt with by Yu Si Huang. It really was. Everyone looked at Ouyang Xiao, who was thrown to the ground by Yu Si Huang. At this moment, he was rolling on the ground while hugging his arm. Yu Si Huang's attack was extremely ruthless. The strength chi that entered his arm rampaged through his flesh and blood, causing the pain on his arm to worsen. Even with Ouyang Xiao's strength at the peak of the martial spirit realm, he could only roll on the ground while hugging his arm. At this moment, the Ouyang family head and the others who follow behind Yu Si Huang also hurried over. Beside them were the Hua family head and the other top family members. They met with Yu Si Huang and the others at the Ouyang family's gate. The Ouyang family head personally led the experts of the Ouyang family to the gate to welcome them. Suddenly, Yu Si Huang seemed to have received some news and rushed inside. The Ouyang family head and the others immediately felt that something was wrong. Thinking about the hatred between Feng Wan and Luo Qingtong, the Ouyang family head's face turned cold. He immediately brought the Ouyang family members and rushed over. When the family head and the others saw this, they naturally guessed that something happened to the Ouyang family. It was most likely related to family Hu and that Yi Jiao. His heart says he brought the other top family. It was just that they didn't expect to see such a scene when they rushed over. Shouldn't it be family Hu and Yi Jiao who were bullied? Why did it seem like the people of the Ouyang clan were being slapped in the face in their own clan? They looked at Feng Wan's face, which obviously didn't have the palm print that she had just received, and the 2 Ouyang family guard behind her who had one of their hands crippled. Their faces suddenly turned silent. Chapter 14-15. Seeing Ouyang Xiao lying on the ground, hugging his arm and howling in pain, his face was instantly filled with rage. "Gate Master Yu, what's going on? Shouldn't you explain yourself?" Ouyang family head ordered his men to help Ouyang Xiao up for treatment, then looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and Yu Si Huang. His eyes were filled with unspeakable maliciousness. He had just brought his men to follow behind Yu Si Huang, and appeared only a few breaths later. In such a short period of time, only Yu Si Huang could injure Ouyang Xiao like this. What's more, Ouyang Xiao's arm wound still had traces of Yu Si Huang's aura, and it had not completely dissipated. Explain what? Ouyang family head's eyes were cold, and Yu Si Huang's eyes were not to be outdone. He sneered as he looked at Ouyang family head. That pair of enchanting phoenix eyes glanced sideways at the other party. He flicked his sleeves, and his entire body's aura exploded like iron, cold and powerful. "The person I value was attacked in your Ouyang family's territory, and the attacker was someone from your Ouyang family. You still dare to ask me for an explanation?" Yu Si Huang's incomparably enchanting face, under the contrast of the anger and sternness on his face, appeared even more soul-stirring and captivating. "What happened just now? If your Ouyang family doesn't give me an explanation, I'll let your Ouyang family bleed here today." Following Yu Si Huang's cold and stern voice, a series of clanging sounds came from beside him. In an instant, the experts of the southern region who followed him into the Ouyang family all pulled out their weapons and coldly confronted the Ouyang family. To these experts of the southern region, Yu Si Huang was the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. He was also the representative of the southern region in the far west wilderness. Whether they were willing to help Luo Qingtong or not, at this moment, the latter was attacked maliciously under the circumstances where everyone knew that she was under Yu Si Huang's protection. That was contempt towards them in the entire southern region. This was something that could not be neglected. Otherwise, the people of the far west wilderness would think that the people of the southern region were easy to bully. They could casually bully them. Following the actions of the powerhouses from the southern region, the atmosphere instantly became tense. The surrounding air was heavy. Many people from the other clans were stunned when they saw this scene. Just like this, the Ouyang clan and the southern region were going to fight. On the other hand, the Hua clan and the other top clans were overjoyed. This was a good thing. When the Ouyang family cooperated with them, they didn't say that they would help them deal with Yi Jiao and the others. They only said that they wouldn't interfere in this matter and would let them do as they pleased. Patriarch Hua and the others knew that the Ouyang family wanted to take charge of the Saint Monarch's tomb. They wanted to reap huge benefits and prestige from it, so they didn't want to get involved in the matter of targeting Yi Jiao and family, who, in seizing the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. After all, whoever obtained the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb would eventually have to take it out and piece it together with them to form a new map. The Ouyang clan already had a map, so there was no need for them to snatch another one. However, these aristocratic families could not resist the temptation of the Sage Monarch's tomb map. But now, the Ouyang clan was directly confronting the people of the southern region. That was different. With the Ouyang clan and the other top clans taking action, they could completely take away family who in Yi Jiao from Yu Si Huang's hands. Chapter 14:16. As for Feng Yuan, when she saw the Ouyang clan and Yu Si Huang going against each other, as well as the Hua clan head and the others, she felt that something was amiss. She smiled proudly in her heart. Previously, she had racked her brains to provoke Luo Qingtong. Wasn't it to make her go against the Ouyang clan directly? Now that she had achieved her goal, although it was a little frustrating, it was still a success. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the Imperial Sect Master by your side. This is the far west wilderness. This is the wilderness city. This is not the main city of the Blackfield, nor the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. Once you go against the top clans here, let's see how unlucky you are. At that time, I will definitely spare your lowly life. After all, in the Saint King's tomb, I want you to see my glory with your own eyes. You want to see me rise again, become a saint, and completely trample you to the bottom of the mud. At that time, I will let you die with hatred and despair. You will become my most glorious witness and a stepping stone to my strength. Feng Yuan sneered. This scene was what she had planned all along. The Ouyang clan was in a cooperative relationship with her. They could help her deal with Luo Qingtong, but they would not personally go against Yu Si Huang and the others. Now, under her plan, they could not do anything even if they did not want to. When Feng Yuan sneered, the Ouyang clan head also looked at Yu Si Huang with cold eyes. The Imperial Sect Master is really arrogant. His voice was cold. The way he addressed Yu Si Huang, from the Imperial Sect Master to the Imperial Sect Master, was getting colder and colder. In our Ouyang clan, my son was seriously injured by you. He broke an arm, and 2 guards were completely crippled. My son's fiancée was also slapped. All these scenes are still vivid in my mind. And you say that our Ouyang clan is bullying others. Our Ouyang clan is bullying ourselves? Look at that Yi Jiao behind you. What's the matter? When the Ouyang clan head said this, he suddenly waved his sleeve angrily. In an instant, a strong force suddenly swept out from his sleeve and heavily blasted the ground under his feet, blasting it into a huge, deep pit. It could be seen how angry he was. Actually, in the Ouyang family head's heart, he knew that it was most likely Ouyang Xiao and the others who made the first move this time. This stupid son. He had already said before that if the Holy Doctor wanted to deal with Yi Jiao, she should vent her anger on her own. The Ouyang family should not interfere. Don't interfere. He had told him so many times. He still didn't listen. This time, he probably saw that the sage doctor had suffered a loss in the hands of this Yi Jiao, so he wanted to help the other party get back at him. Unfortunately, Yu Si Huang caught up to him, and instead, he was oppressed. However, knowing was one thing. The Ouyang family head couldn't ignore his own son. It was even more impossible for him to let Ouyang Xiao get beaten up and not get back at him. Otherwise, where would the Ouyang family's face go? It was also because that Yi Jiao was too troublesome. If she had obediently allowed the Holy Doctor to vent his anger, wouldn't there not be so much trouble? As the Ouyang clan head thought of this, he suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong with an even more sinister and cold gaze. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. Who said that I'm fine? Following Luo Qingtong's voice, everyone immediately looked at her. Even Yu Si Huang was the same. He frowned and looked at Luo Qingtong, not knowing what she was going to do. Chapter 14-17. That was not wise at all. He had just shifted the focus of the attack to the glory of the southern region. If she opened her mouth now, the focus of the matter would be shifted back to her and family who, at that time, the people behind him would not necessarily work so hard. After all, he was the one who attacked, and the person the Ouyang family head was targeting was also him. Now that Luo Qingtong had opened her mouth, the target of the opponent's attention was shifted. Sure enough, the moment Luo Qingtong spoke, the Ouyang family head's gaze immediately shifted to her. What can happen to you? He sneered. There was not even a trace of disorder in the opponent's breathing, not to mention the traces of fighting. Obviously, Ouyang Xiao did not even manage to touch her before he was stopped by Yu Si Huang. Under such circumstances, she still dared to say that she had something to do? Did she think that everyone was blind? Was she trying to absolve Yu Si Huang and the rest? The Ouyang family head thought of this and said coldly, "Don't say that the Ouyang family is bullying others. As long as you can tell us what you have to do. You can also make all of us agree with what you say, and we can't refute it. I'll let this matter rest. If you can't tell us, then don't blame me for being impolite. Men, activate the defensive shield of the Ouyang family." As the master of the Ouyang family shouted coldly, a transparent light shield suddenly rose above the main courtyard of the Ouyang family. This shield might not be able to stop Yu Si Huang, but it was enough to deal with the other southern region experts and family, whose people. He did not believe that Yu Si Huang and Yi Jiao would leave their people behind and escape. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. The Ouyang family actually had a defensive shield. The foundation of a top family was indeed different from that of an ordinary family. However, Luo Qingtong did not care much. She looked at the Ouyang family head indifferently. Is that so? Then I hope that the Ouyang family will keep your words. She raised her left hand and pointed at the back of her left hand with her right hand. There, it's injured here. With Luo Qingtong's movement, everyone around looked at the back of Luo Qingtong's hand. Many of the people here had just witnessed what had happened. He was very sure that Ouyang Xiao did not meet Luo Qingtong, but the latter said that she had something to do. If she pretended to be injured in front of Ouyang family head and others, she would be exposed in a minute. Even if he hurt himself, he wouldn't allow it. He would definitely be seen through by the Ouyang family head and the other experts. Therefore, after thinking about it for a while, they didn't know how Luo Qingtong could prove that there was something wrong with her. Now that they heard that the back of her hand was injured, they all looked over. Even Yu Si Huang and the others were no exception. Pooh! When he saw the so-called injury on the back of Luo Qingtong's hand, Yu Si Huang couldn't hold back his laughter and burst out laughing. Hu Yinyang and the others couldn't help but laugh. Master is really too black-bellied. The surrounding crowd was also dumbfounded when they saw this. This was the so-called injury of the other party? When the Ouyang family head saw this, he was so angry that his whole body trembled. Bastard! You! This was simply playing with people. The Ouyang family head looked at the so-called injury on the back of Luo Qingtong's hand, and his face was filled with anger. He was about to flip out on the spot. Chapter 14:18. It's just a few scratches. It didn't even break the skin. You call this an injury? Then what are his son's injuries called? Ouyang family head was extremely angry. Luo Qingtong slowly opened her mouth. What about me? I'm also injured. Ouyang family head, don't you want me to prove that I'm not injured? I've already proven it. These injuries were scratched by that little fox. Luo Qingtong said and turned to look at Feng Wan and the others. This little fox is yours, right? And Luo Qingtong's eyes slightly raised. Didn't Feng Wan want to slander her? As she wished. No, it's not ours. Feng Wan coldly looked at Luo Qingtong's actions. Did the other party think she could escape like this? Pushing the responsibility to that little fox, and then indirectly pushing it to Ouyang family to prove that it was Ouyang Xiao who did it? Dream on. Feng Wan sneered. She won't succeed. When Feng Wan opened his mouth, he had already calculated everything. Luo Qingtong's intention was so obvious, he believed that Ouyang family people also saw it. If he denied it like this, no one would suspect that he just lied to Ouyang Xiao and instigated him to fight with Luo Qingtong. She would only think that he purposely said that the little fox was not his in order to prevent Luo Qingtong's scheme from succeeding. He believed that Ouyang Xiao also thought so. Sure enough, after Ouyang Xiao heard Feng Wan's words, he recovered from the pain and quickly said, "That's right. This little fox is not ours. Yijio, didn't you say that this little fox is yours?" Ouyang Xiao's face was fierce and his eyes were cold. One of his hands was almost crushed by Yu Si Huang. This enmity, he must take revenge. Luo Qingtong and the others can no longer struggle. Oh, that's right. Unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong suddenly changed the topic after hearing their words. This little fox is mine, so why does it want to catch me? You even grabbed it so hard. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pointed at the scratch on her hand that would break her skin if it went any deeper. One had to know that she had the physique of a Wuzong. Even if she did not use her qi to protect her body, she would not have been scratched by a little fox just by relying on the defensive power of her skin. The latter must have used a great deal of strength. In fact, the little fox was greatly frightened. The moment Ouyang Xiao made his move, it couldn't control the fear in its body and fiercely grabbed Luo Qingtong. At that time, Luo Qingtong was preparing to give it to Hu Yinyang to take care of. In addition, this little fox's lethality wasn't great, so she didn't deliberately avoid or defend against it. These few scratch marks were left behind. At this moment, she pointed at the scratch marks on the back of her left hand and raised her eyebrows at Feng Wan, Ouyang Xiao, and the others. So you attacked me. Master Ouyang, may I ask, under such circumstances, is there a problem with us retaliating? Luo Qingtong opened her hand and carried over the little fox that was curled up in Hu Yinyang's arms. When the little fox was carried over by her, it was still fine. Once its gaze met Feng Wan, Ouyang Xiao, and the others, it first stood up violently, and it struggled with all its might. Everyone present was used to dealing with demonic beasts when they were exploring outside. Naturally, they knew that most demonic beast cubs had this kind of nature and instinct. Chapter 14:19. Ouyang family head was so angry that he was at a loss for words. Pointing at Luo Qingtong, he was speechless. He wanted to refute. However, he could take advantage of the fact that the surrounding families did not dare to say much, and the Southern Mountain Range people were not clear about the situation to make things difficult for Luo Qingtong and Yu Si Huang. But now that Luo Qingtong had obviously taken out the evidence, if he still did not let it go, then he would really be deliberately provoking a dispute with the Southern Mountain Range. After all, when Luo Qingtong was in the wrong, he could take action against the other party. But if there was no mistake, if they took action, then it would be deliberately provoking and targeting Yu Si Huang. Damn it! Ouyang family head's heart was filled with anger, but he had no choice but to swallow it down. On the other hand, Feng Yuan was about to be angered to death by Luo Qingtong's words. She thought that Luo Qingtong had asked her if the little fox was theirs to shirk responsibility, but she did not expect that the other party would use these words to successfully remove herself from the blame. Not only that, she had also openly asked for the little fox. Obviously, that little fox was not the other party's. Simply hateful. This evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Yuan was so angry in her heart that she clenched her teeth tightly, almost biting her silver teeth in half. If she had gone along with Luo Qingtong's words, then she would have been fine. If she admitted that the little fox was theirs, then Luo Qingtong would not have been able to use that little wound to checkmate them. But now, she had let the other party take advantage of her. She had cupped her hands, that little fox. And all the reasons and paths that Luo Qingtong could use to cause trouble were completely blocked. How infuriating! Losing to Luo Qingtong twice in a row, Feng Yuan was about to go crazy. Previously, she had lost to Luo Qingtong in terms of medical skills, elixirs, and all kinds of ability. Now, even the scheming that she was most proud of had lost to the other party. Moreover, she had lost so thoroughly and had been set up by Luo Qingtong. Feng Yuan was really angry. Yu Si Huang, on the other hand, was smiling as he went to Luo Qingtong's side and whispered, "Tong Tong, you're amazing." Yu Si Huang did not expect Luo Qingtong to make a comeback under such circumstances. He had thought that he would have to fight with the Ouyang family's people, and was prepared, but he did not expect that Luo Qingtong so easily. Not only that, but she had also angered the other party to this extent. Thinking about this, Yu Si Huang suddenly smiled brightly. That laughter was deep and at the same time. Meeting Luo Qingtong was probably the luckiest thing in his life. This girl was so different from the rest. Every time he was with her, there would be a different surprise. The more Yu Si Huang interacted with her, the more he could feel the other party's charm that was different from other women. She was like a deep sea. No matter how he explored, he could not see the bottom. This kind of feeling for him and Yi Qianxian, who were in high positions and had seen almost all the women in the world, had an extremely fatal attraction. After all, in this world, there were many beauties, and there were also many powerful beauties. But Luo Qingtong, there was only one. "Ha! Tong Tong, I really like you more and more." Yu Si Huang approached Luo Qingtong and whispered in her ear. Chapter 1420. Yu Si Huang was tempting Luo Qingtong, wanting to let this woman discover his unique charm. The young lady was really too attractive. He couldn't let go, really wanted to snatch her from Yi Qianxian. Yu Si Huang's pair of amorous and charming peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly. Luo Qingtong didn't have time to bother with him. She looked at Feng Yuan's angry figure who was about to turn and leave, and suddenly said, "What? You're leaving just like that?" Only Feng Yuan was about to leave, along with Ouyang Xiao, who was being supported by a group of Ouyang family guards, and was about to go down for treatment. Suddenly, everyone's gaze turned towards their direction. "Yi Jiao, what are you trying to do?" Ouyang family head was forced to swallow the anger of his son being injured, and his heart was already sullen enough. Seeing that Ouyang Xiao and the rest were about to be stopped by Luo Qingtong for treatment, he was instantly enraged. "Don't go overboard. Xiao is injured to this extent. Don't tell me you won't allow him to go down for treatment. Don't tell me you want to kill him to compensate for that little bit of injury." To compensate. Ouyang family head bit on the word injury, and his words were full of anger and sarcasm. What kind of thing was this Yi Jiao? If it wasn't for the people of the Southern Mountain Range here, if it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have the confidence to kill Yu Si Huang and the rest here, and not leave any future troubles, how could he allow her to be so presumptuous in his own family? If she really dared to be unforgiving and be presumptuous, then don't blame him for being impolite. At that time, these people of the Southern Mountain Range wouldn't be so protective of her anymore. After all, he was the one who went up against Yu Si Huang first. Otherwise, if it was just one Luo Qingtong, the people of the southern mountain range might not be so united and interfering. Ouyang family head's face was filled with anger, but Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent. She smiled lightly and said, Ouyang family head's words are wrong. Don't tell me your Ouyang family has injured people and doesn't need to compensate and apologize. I don't need your Ouyang family to be a cow or a horse to compensate. Of course, I won't take young Master Ouyang's life. I only need— The smile on her face rose slightly, and she said, they just have to fulfill their threats and threats to me. 2 choices. As long as one of them is achieved, this matter will be considered over. Young Master Ouyang, Miss Luana, don't you agree? Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Ouyang Xiao and Feng Wan, whose expressions changed greatly after hearing her words. She had said that she would definitely return the choice that the 2 of them had given her. 2 choices? What choice? Ouyang family head's brows furrowed. He had arrived late and did not know what had happened before this. However, no matter how he thought about it, neither of these 2 choices was a good thing. After all, it was his son who suggested it first. Immediately, a guard of the Ouyang family transmitted a message to him and explained everything that had just happened clearly. The head of the Ouyang family was instantly enraged. That's impossible. Chopping off their hands, kneeling and apologizing. The Ouyang clan would never do that, not to mention in front of so many families. The face of the Ouyang family must not be lost. Yijio, do you really have to be so overbearing? Chapter 14:21. Give an inch and you want a mile. Is this also the southern region's intention? The Ouyang family had swept his gaze over the people of the southern region. The people of the southern region frowned slightly. In their opinion, it was fine for Luo Qingtong to stop while she was ahead. After all, her strength was not obvious. She relied on Yu Sihuang's strength to protect her. But what was the other party's intention? Relying on the power of the southern region, they deliberately went against the Ouyang family? You really don't know your limits. This was not the southern region. They would be at a disadvantage if they went against the Ouyang family and other families here. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong. Before they could say anything, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded again. Ouyang family head, you're exaggerating. These 2 choices were proposed by young Lord Ouyang himself. What's more, he was injured because he failed to attack me and was instead injured by Yu Sihuang. He deserved it. But the matter of the little fox being frightened by him and scratching me is a different matter. How can you lump these 2 things together? And I'm not that kind of unreasonable person. As she spoke, her gaze shifted to Feng Yuan, whose expression suddenly darkened. She had an inexplicable bad premonition in her heart. The conflict between me and young Lord Ouyang was caused by Miss Luana. Since Ouyang family head does not want young Lord Ouyang to apologize, that's fine. Let Miss Luan take his place. After all, the 2 of them are engaged. What do you think, Ouyang family head? As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, Feng Wan's teeth were about to break. Bastard! How dare you? Feng Wan's heart was filled with shock and anger. She did not expect that Luo Qingtong's words were directed at her. To deal with Ouyang Xiao, it was fake. The other party was completely directed at her. She wanted to use the Ouyang family to attack her. Bastard! Evil Dr. Gui Tong, how dare you? Feng Wan was furious to the extreme. Ouyang family's master began to seriously consider Luo Qingtong's proposal. To him, the most important thing right now was to get this troublesome matter over with as soon as possible. The Ouyang clan was slapped by Luo Qingtong left and right in front of so many clans. They had almost lost all their face. I can't continue to be treated as a joke. Otherwise, who knew how long the Ouyang clan would continue to be a laughingstock in Wildland City? Thinking like this, Ouyang family head was very dissatisfied with Feng Wan, who caused all of this. If the other party had enmity with this Yijio, then so be it. If you want to take revenge, then take revenge. The Ouyang clan had created everything for her, but they still fell into the other party's hands. Not only that, He even dragged the Ouyang family down with him. Since that was the case, what was she going to take revenge for? It would be better to just watch the show from the sidelines, or wait until they reached the Saint King's tomb. She would have plenty of opportunities to attack the other party, but she had to deliver herself to the door at this time to be dealt with. Ouyang family head's heart was filled with anger. He did not hesitate and nodded. All right, one. Apologized to young Master Yijio. His eyes were filled with warning as he stared coldly at Feng Wan. The meaning in his eyes was very obvious. This is your own fault. Holy Doctor, you can't let our Ouyang clan take the blame. Chapter 1422. Miss Wan please think of the bigger picture and apologize to ninth young Master Yi. After all, young Master has already been injured because of you. Behind the Ouyang family head, a group of experts from the Ouyang family also spoke in a deep voice. In their opinion, this matter was completely caused by Feng Wan. Ouyang Xiao had already injured one of his hands because of her. Could it be that she couldn't even apologize for him? If that was the case, then there was nothing much for her to say to the Ouyang family. Luo Qingtong's words just now knocked on the hearts of the Ouyang family members, causing their gazes towards Feng Wan to become somewhat unfriendly. They were indeed in a cooperative relationship with Feng Wan, but it didn't mean that the Ouyang family would always be the scapegoat for him. They didn't have that obligation. Moreover, Feng Wan was obviously suspected of using Ouyang Xiao. Everyone in the Ouyang family had heard everything that had happened before clearly. You all. Feng Wan was anxious in her heart. She was a dignified princess of Great Yong and had been in charge of the imperial court since young. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? If her identity hadn't been taken away, how an aristocratic family like the Ouyang family dare to treat her like this when she personally came? Speaking of which, all of this was because of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Her identity was taken away and she had to travel to the far west wilderness alone. All of this was caused by him. Now, he actually wanted her to kneel and apologize to him. Dream on. Feng Wan's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Her life had been smooth. Wealth, glory, and power were all within her reach. Only Yi Qianxian and the evil Dr. Ghost Eye were thwarted. However, Yi Qianxian was the Dark Lord of the Black Field. His power and glory were above her. What was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Why did he have to be above her? Feng Wan was unconvinced. Since the first time she lost to Luo Qingtong, she was unconvinced in her heart. All right, I apologize to her, Feng Wan coldly spoke, after which she turned and looked at Ouyang Xiao, who was being supported by the guards of the Ouyang clan. Ah Xiao, I'll apologize to her on your behalf. You can go and rest, don't look. Feng Wan's voice was very soft and gentle. Others didn't find anything wrong with what he said, but Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at once. Hypnotism? No, it didn't seem like it. There seemed to be something missing. While Luo Qingtong was lost in her thoughts, Feng Wan, whose back was facing the crowd, looked at Ouyang Xiao with a purple and green luster in her eyes. The luster spun rapidly in her eyes. Like two extremely dazzling and deep whirlpools, they revolved around her eyes. All right, Ouyang Xiao had already received a sound transmission warning from the Ouyang family head that he was not allowed to do anything that would disgrace the Ouyang family because of Feng Wan. Otherwise, he would not be spared. Listening to Feng Wan's words, he nodded subconsciously. However, as soon as he spoke, his mind suddenly felt dizzy. In the next second, he fiercely broke away from the guards who were supporting him and rushed in front of Luo Qingtong. He shouted coldly, "You're dreaming. You want us to apologize for you. Who do you think you are? You want to humiliate our Ouyang family? You're not qualified. Isn't it just a hand? I'll compensate you." While speaking, Ouyang Xiao had already pulled out his weapon and chopped at his injured right hand. Xiao, seeing this scene, the Ouyang family head and the others were instantly shocked. Chapter 1423. Cutting off a hand. Even if Ouyang Xiao's hand was reattached and restored to its original state, there would still be a lot of resistance to his future advancement. After all, It had been cut off before. There was a faint barrier and obstruction between the meridians, and all of this was caused by Luo Qingtong. At that moment, the Ouyang family's anger towards Luo Qingtong rose to the extreme, especially the head of the Ouyang family. He did not expect Ouyang Xiao to do this. If Ouyang Xiao's hand was really cut off like this, he would not care about anything else. He would definitely make Luo Qingtong and the rest pay the price. Even if he could not do anything to Yu Si Huang and Luo Qingtong, he would make the rest of the people, especially family whose people, accompany Ouyang Xiao's hand to the grave. The head of the Ouyang family and the rest rushed forward, trying to stop Ouyang Xiao. However, the latter's movements were extremely fast. No one expected him to suddenly cut off his own hand. They could not make it in time. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong looked at Ouyang Xiao's actions and slightly narrowed her eyes. This feeling, she looked at Feng Wan, only to see the latter standing in the crowd. In his eyes, there was a faint purple and green light flashing. A faintly discernible connection was formed between her and Ouyang Xiao. "Eye technique?" Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed slightly. The bloody light in her eyes clearly saw the connection between Feng Wan and Ouyang Xiao. Feng Wan also had different eyes and knew eye techniques. No wonder she would let Luo Xianning destroy the original owner's eyes. The thing that Luo Qingtong did not understand before was finally clear. She was thinking with Feng Wan's personality and arrogance. Why would he suddenly attack the original owner? She had deep feelings for Yuan Ma, but the truth was obviously not like that. Moreover, with Feng Wan's means, if she really loved Yuan Ma and could not tolerate the original owner, why would she just destroy the original owner's eyes? If Feng Wan did it personally, the original owner would not have lived until the time when she transmigrated. So, it was because of that pair of eyes? Interesting. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. This was the first time she saw someone who also practiced eye techniques. When Luo Qingtong was in the secret room of the Luo family, she already knew that there were other people who practiced eye techniques in this world. But she did not expect Feng Wan to be one of them. However, the eye technique in this world was completely different from the one Luo Qingtong cultivated. Luo Qingtong's eye technique was engraved in her bones and even her soul. She did not need to practice. Once she awakened, she could immediately learn 100 techniques. She could see through all the illusions in this world. The level of her strength did not affect her ability to execute eye techniques, but the might of her eye techniques would be different. But the eye techniques in this world was not like this. Just like the soul of the soul's soul, Luo's eye techniques. And Luo Qingtong had many eye techniques that the eye techniques in this world did not have. Of course, this could also be because the eye techniques in the secret room of the Luo family were not fully recorded. After all, it had been too long. Even old Master Luo could not clearly explain the past of the Luo family. But one thing was for sure, Luo Qingtong's eye technique was far superior to the eye techniques in this world. Bang! Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. The light in her eyes was as red as blood. Chapter 1424. A psychic power swept out silently like a sharp blade, accurately cutting off the connection between Ouyang Xiao and Feng Wan. The latter was using her eye technique to control Ouyang Xiao's every move. This was Feng Wan's trump card, and she would never use it easily. This time, she really couldn't bear it anymore. Just now, she used her eye technique to control Ouyang Xiao's movements, vowing to make Luo Qingtong pay the price. Once Ouyang Xiao's hand was chopped off because of Luo Qingtong's accountability, the Ouyang family would inevitably fly into a rage and recklessly make a move against Luo Qingtong. At that time, she would wait for the opportunity to make a move, and Yu Si Huang might not be able to protect Luo Qingtong. She wanted the other party to pay the price for making her apologize just now. Originally, Feng Wan decided to keep Luo Qingtong alive and wait until her plan in the Saint King's tomb succeeded. Only then would she let the other party die in endless humiliation and despair. But now, she changed her mind. She wanted Luo Qingtong to die now, and the Ouyang family dared to make her apologize to Luo Qingtong. She would chop off Ouyang Xiao's right hand as punishment. If it weren't for the fact that she still needed their help in the future plan, she would definitely make the entire Ouyang family pay the price for the words they said to her before. Feng Wan's eyes were proud and cold. However, all of a sudden, her expression changed drastically. The place where Luo Qingtong's psychic power cut through, her connection with Ouyang Xiao's eye technique was instantly cut off. At the same time, Ouyang Xiao raised his right hand and stopped. It was this pause that immediately the Ouyang family's head and the others who couldn't stop him in time caught up and restrained him. The Ouyang family's head slapped Ouyang Xiao hard, almost sending him flying. He angrily ordered the people around him, "Take this evil creature back and lock him in the house to reflect on himself." The head of the Ouyang family was extremely angry. "My son doesn't give me any peace of mind. He wants to chop off his hand in front of so many people. He has really made the Ouyang family a joke." After giving Ouyang Xiao a slap, he turned to Luo Qingtong angrily and was about to lose his temper. At this moment, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and said with an indifferent expression, "Young Lord Ouyang and his fiancée really have deep feelings for each other. I only asked Miss Luoner to apologize on his behalf, and he became so agitated. He even wanted to chop off his hand. He's really a love-struck fool." The upbringing of the Ouyang family is excellent. As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the head of the Ouyang family was furious. He suddenly remembered that Luo Qingtong had already decided not to pursue the matter with the Ouyang family. As long as Feng Wan apologized, this matter would immediately be dropped. This matter was caused by Feng Wan. Naturally, she should apologize. Was he wrong in making this decision? However, what was going on with Ouyang Xiao? He openly disobeyed his orders and wanted to chop off his hand for Feng Wan. Could it be that in his eyes, the humiliation of an outsider was not as important as the honor of the Ouyang family? What a bastard! Moreover, he was so angry that he wanted to chop off his hand. Was he deliberately doing it for them to see? Because they asked the holy doctor to apologize, he couldn't stand it? Using such an action to disobey them? Thinking of this, the head of the Ouyang family instantly became furious. As the head of a top family, he naturally wouldn't allow his son to disobey him like this. Chapter 1425. His anger towards Luo Qingtong quickly shifted to Feng Wan. When the latter's eye technique was cut off, her entire body suddenly shook. Before she could react, she was fiercely stared at by the Ouyang family head. Feng Wan's heart suddenly trembled. She knew that Luo Qingtong must have said something to make the Ouyang family head point his spear at her. She was about to speak up to absolve herself, but the Ouyang family head was already irritated by this series of events and did not want to be entangled with her on this matter. He immediately cut her off and said angrily, "Luoner, as the future daughter-in-law of the Ouyang family, don't you think you should do something for the Ouyang family? Apologize to ninth young master Yi immediately. Then leave this place." The Ouyang family head really did not want to see Feng Wan for a moment. The respect and goodwill he had for the other party had been completely destroyed after this series of events. Most importantly, the things that Ouyang Xiao did for the other party were really challenging his psychological bottom line. The Ouyang family definitely could not have a young master who was led by the nose by others. And the Ouyang family head only had this one legitimate son. Once others questioned Ouyang Xiao's position as the young master, their bloodline would be very passive. After all, the Ouyang family had been passed down in Wild City for many years, and they were not the only main bloodline. The Ouyang family head's face was furious, and his gaze towards Feng Wan was very unfriendly. It seemed that if Feng Wan continued to be entangled and refused to lower her head, causing a dispute, he would force her to personally carry out this apology. Feng Wan's face was pale, and she had no choice but to give in. "Ninth young master Yi, just now I'm really sorry." She gritted her teeth and lowered her head towards Luo Qingtong. "Miss Luan, did Did you forget something? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her without saying anything. Hu Yinyang beside her had already said coldly, "That's right." Yu Xingqi, who was hugging the little white cat beside Luo Qingtong, said with a smile, "Just now the young master of the Ouyang family said that she had to kneel and apologize. Miss Wan, your posture of apology is quite insincere." Yu Xingqi's smile was sweet, but the expression in her eyes was very cold. This hateful woman actually instigated the young master of the Ouyang family to attack her sister. If it wasn't for her sister's wit, they didn't know how they would be forced by the Ouyang family. Yu Xingqi was like a little devil. How could she let her off so easily? Hearing their words, Feng Wan's silver teeth to the point of her teeth was about to bleed. She slowly knelt down and lowered her head to Luo Qingtong. "Ninth young master Yi, please forgive me. Enough." Before Luo Qingtong could speak, Yu Xingqi spoke again. "So, Sai, it's brother. And it's fine if you apologize. If it were me, I wouldn't let you off so easily. Since you've already apologized, then so be it. All right, why aren't you thanking my brother for his magnanimity?" When Yu Xingqi said this, he secretly made a funny face at Luo Qingtong. Chapter 1426. Yu Xingqi was indeed a little witch. Not only did she raise herself up with these words, but she also ruthlessly ridiculed Feng Wan. She even forced Feng Wan to thank her in the end. She had slapped herself in the face and still wanted to thank her. Thank her for this beating. Luo Qingtong couldn't bear to look at Feng Wan's face. The latter was in high spirits, controlling the life and death of the original owner. She was proud and arrogant, thinking that she was the only one in the world. She probably never thought that she would have such a day, right? Crawling in front of others, lowly as dust. She had once crippled the original owner's eyes and wanted to destroy the original owner's life with a thought. Now, she wanted to take revenge for the original Luo Qingtong bit by bit. "Ninth young master Yi, many, many thanks." Feng Wan's words were practically squeezed out from the gaps between her teeth. She lowered her head. The expression in her eyes was extremely sinister and vicious. "Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't be complacent. This matter isn't over yet. When the Saint King's tomb opens and my plan succeeds, I want all of you to die incomparably miserably." Feng Wan kept telling herself this point. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would faint in front of Luo Qingtong. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, and those people around her, they were all good people. She would remember them. They would wait for her. Feng Wan finally gritted her teeth and left with the people escorting Ouyang Xiao with blood dripping from the corners of her lips. She glanced at Luo Qingtong with resentment before leaving with those people. At this time, it was safest to follow the people of the Ouyang family, especially by Ouyang Xiao's side. This young master of the Ouyang family would be her best protective talisman now. And after Feng Wan and the others left, everyone's eyes immediately focused on the Ouyang family head and the others. Not for anything else, but they didn't forget that they came to the Ouyang family for the Saint King's Tomb conference held by the Ouyang family. Here, only the people of the Ouyang family had the qualifications to speak. And the Ouyang family head, under everyone's gaze, also suppressed the anger in his heart and nodded to the crowd. "Everyone, I was not strict with my discipline just now and let you see a joke. Now, everyone take your places. Let's discuss the opening of the Saint King's tomb. Ninth young master Yi, please." The Ouyang family heads looked at Luo Qingtong was extremely cold. Although he didn't have a good impression of Luo Qingtong because of Feng Yuan's words, it wasn't to the extent of hating her. "Feng, see?" But at this moment, because of the series of events just now, although the Ouyang family head vented most of his anger on Feng Yuan and blamed her for causing the trouble, he was still angry. But at the same time, he was very angry with Luo Qingtong in his heart. The other party insisted on going against Feng Wan and even made the Ouyang family lose face. At this moment, he didn't order his men to retract the defensive barrier that enveloped his family. This St. King's Tomb conference was originally aimed at Luo Qingtong and the others. Originally, the Ouyang family was only prepared to watch from the sidelines and let the Hua family and the other top families fight against Yu Si Huang and the others. They only wanted to be the peacemaker in the middle so that they could curry favor with both sides. But now he changed his mind. Chapter 14:27. They wanted to let the other party know what a mistake it was to offend the Ouyang family and not give them face in the wild city of the Ouyang family's territory. So what if she had the protection of the Imperial Emperor sect? This was not the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. Yu Si Huang was not the powerful Ming Zun of the Blackfield. If the Ming Zun of the Blackfield was here, they might not dare to be presumptuous. But Yu Si Huang, his strength was not enough to cover the sky. At least, the top families in the wild city were not afraid of him. This Yi Jiao, he was too arrogant. Did he think that he could be presumptuous in front of the top families just because Yu Si Huang and the people of the southern region were behind her? The Ouyang family had sneered and led the people of the Ouyang family to sit on the main seat in the square. The Hua family head and the rest also sat opposite and around Luo Qingtong, and the rest with smiles on their faces. The seats of the top families were there. The people from the other clans were seated below them. Today, I invited everyone to the Ouyang family to discuss entering the St. King's Tomb. Indeed, as everyone knows, 2 maps of the St. King's Tomb have appeared, and the more comprehensive this map fragment is, the clearer it is about the mechanisms and secret passages in the St. King's Tomb. But no one knows where those map fragments are and how many copies there are. The Ouyang family has previously told everyone that we will set a deadline of 1 month. If the other map fragments have not appeared, the Ouyang family will also lead everyone to explore the St. King's Tomb. But now, another map of the St. King's Tomb has appeared. It is in the hands of the family who 9th young master, and now, the 1-month deadline is approaching. The Ouyang family has decided to follow the previous agreement and lead everyone to explore the St. King's Tomb. We will lead the way together with 9th young master Yi. I wonder what everyone thinks. As soon as the Ouyang family head spoke, the voices of the Hua family sounded instantly. The Hua family has objections. The Hua family head stood up. In fact, the Ouyang family head had already discussed this matter with them before. A group of people had already set up a trap for Luo Qingtong. Ouyang family head, the Hua family and the other top families have no objections to your Ouyang family being the leader. But why should family whose people and Yi Jiao be with you and lead the way for us? The Hua family head sneered as he looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. It's true that the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb is in their hands, but it's not enough to become a guide just because they have the map. Otherwise, if something unexpected happens and they can't handle it, what are we going to do? Wait for death? The Hua family's patriarch was extremely cunning. He secretly changed the concept of the Saint Monarch's tomb map. He directly pointed out that Luo Qingtong and the others were not qualified to have the Saint Monarch's tomb map. In fact, Luo Qingtong and the others had the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. It was completely up to them whether they wanted to lead the way or not. Those who did not have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb would still encounter danger even if they did not lead the way. However, after the Hua and Ouyang family heads spoke, they directly linked the possession of the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb with their strength. Chapter 14:28. As soon as Patriarch Hua's words sounded, Luo Qingtong and the others instantly knew what they were up to. Big sister, these people are too shameless. Yu Xingqi hugged the little white cat as he squeezed in front of Luo Qingtong and muttered. She had always felt that she had always been one to speak the human language. Sometimes, it could be said that she was very shameless for tricking her brother for no reason. She didn't expect Patriarch Hua and the others to be even more powerful than her. How was this being shameless? Was this being shameless from the beginning? Luo Qingtong and the others had the map. What did it have to do with these people whether they were qualified or not and how strong they were? What did it have to do with Luo Qingtong and the others if the Ouyang family wanted to be the leader and act like a big wolf? Luo Qingtong could choose not to take out this map of the sage monarch's tomb if she was happy. If she was unhappy, she could choose not to take it out. However, Patriarch Hua's words made it seem like this map of the sage monarch's tomb was a public item. Those without strength and influence couldn't have it. Those with strength and influence could have it, but those who weren't powerful enough couldn't have it. This could be said to be quite laughable. Their motive was simply too obvious. Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others were also furious. Before they came, they already had a hunch that this was definitely a trap, but they didn't expect Patriarch Hua and the others to be so blatant. How could they say such disgusting words? Family whose own things were said to be something that couldn't be possessed by those without strength. Then who was qualified to have it? Apart from the Ouyang family, only the Hua family and the other top families were qualified to have it, right? Sure enough, after Patriarch Hua's words fell, the patriarchs of the top families on both sides of them immediately echoed his words. Exploring the sage monarch's tomb is a big deal. We should be cautious. Family Hu and Yi Jiu aren't strong enough. Even with the help of the people from the southern region, I'm afraid it's inevitable that there will be oversights. In my opinion, why don't Family Hu take out this map of the sage monarch's tomb? When the time comes, we'll lead everyone together and lead the way with the Ouyang family. This is the best choice. That's right. This is something that will benefit everyone. Ninth Young Master Yi and everyone from Family Hu, please give up on us for the greater good. Don't you agree? A group of people from the top families, one after another, were talking about Luo Qingtong, Family Hu, and Yu Sihuang's ability was not as good as theirs. It would be better to give him the map of the sage monarch's tomb. His ambition was as clear as day. None of the people present were fools. How could they not understand the purpose of their words? However, he had heard from the top clans that once they got a map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they would go with the Ouyang clan and lead the way. The group of people from the other clans fell silent. The proposal of the Hua family head and the other top families was beneficial to them. Other things aside, a family like theirs certainly didn't have the qualifications and strength to compete with Luo Qingtong and the others for the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. When they attended the grand assembly of the Saint Monarch's tomb previously, they didn't have any hopes for the map. After all, behind Family Hu and Luo Qingtong was the ruler of the southern region, the Imperial Emperor's sect master. They only hoped to enter the Saint Monarch's tomb and try their luck. Chapter 1429. If Patriarch Hua and the others were willing to lead the way for them after obtaining the map, they would at least have more chances in the Saint King's tomb. On the contrary, if Luo Qingtong and the rest held the map, even if the other party was willing to lead the way for them with the Ouyang family, they might not be able to get many chances under the other party's protection. After all, Family whose strength was low. Even if Luo Qingtong and the others obtained something along the way, it would inevitably be given to Family Hu first. However, if Patriarch Hua and the others held the map of the Saint King's tomb, the things that the top clans did not want would belong to their clans. The crowd instantly distinguished the gains and losses and immediately stood on the side of Patriarch Hua and the others. We also agree with Patriarch Hua and the others. Yes, that map of the Saint King's tomb, if Patriarch Hua and the others hold it, it will make us feel more at ease. The large and small forces who came to participate in the Saint King's Tomb convention, after a moment of silence at the beginning, all spoke up and echoed the words of Patriarch Hua and the others. The reaction of these people was not beyond the expectations of Patriarch Ouyang and the others. Even if everyone could see that they wanted to snatch the map of the Saint King's tomb from Luo Qingtong and the others, so what? When it came to their own interests, these people would not stand on Luo Qingtong's side at all, even if the latter had the backing of Yu Sihuang and the others from the southern region. So what? With their strength alone, they could not be compared to them at all. In this place full of people, no one would stand on their side. After resolving the hidden danger of public anger, what could Luo Qingtong and the others use to compete with the top clans? Patriarch was sneered. Today, Even if Yi Jio did not want to hand over the map of the Saint King's tomb, he had to hand it over. There was no room for struggle. Ninth young master, as you can see, the opinions of everyone present are the same. It can be seen that the map of the Saint King's tomb is what everyone wants. Ninth young master, please consider the big picture and take out the map of the Saint King's tomb. Don't ruin the harmony between us just because of this. After all, we don't want to do it ourselves. It wouldn't be good if there were any unnecessary casualties, wouldn't it? Ninth young master? The Hua family's patriarch's face was complacent, and he looked at Luo Qingtong with ridicule and coldness. Family whose people had put on a show in front of the Hua residence, and he was still angry about it. According to what he knew, all of this had come from the youth before him, called Yi Jio. She was the one who had single-handedly led the changes in Family Hu. She had pulled the Family Hu, which was on the verge of decline, out of the mire. Furthermore, she was the one who had single-handedly destroyed the Bai clan. If it wasn't for Yu Si Huang and the others behind her, how could Family Hu's people survive until now? It had long been destroyed by the Bai family's conspiracy. At the very least, the Hua clan would be able to snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb and enjoy it for themselves. They would not need to join forces with so many top clans to attack them and snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Patriarch Hua had made up his mind. Even if they managed to snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, Luo Qingtong would not have it easy. Chapter 1430. Patriarch was sneered, not to mention anything else. He wanted her to have a taste of the humiliation that Yi Jio had inflicted on the Hua clan. Patriarch's words were full of threats, and anyone could understand the meaning behind his words. He wanted Luo Qingtong and the others to not give them a chance to attack. Otherwise, they would definitely not show mercy. This threat made Luo Qingtong's eyes narrow fiercely, and the sharpness and blood-red light in her eyes flashed. I also agree with Patriarch Hua's opinion. Unexpectedly, just when everyone thought that Luo Qingtong would not compromise so easily, Luo Qingtong's voice suddenly sounded leisurely. The youth gently fanned herself with the folding fan in her hand, and the smile on her lips was half evil and half lazy. She raised her eyebrows slightly as she looked at the eyebrows of the Hua clan's patriarch and the others. Because of her lazy and happy posture, she revealed a different kind of charm, causing her ordinary face, which had been modified, to look a little different from the rest. What? Are you surprised that I said I agree? Luo Qingtong fanned herself and looked disdainfully at Patriarch Hua and the others who were suddenly stunned. In fact, not only them, but even Yu Si Huang and Hu Yinyang were stunned. Young master, Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others looked at Luo Qingtong. The former was still okay. After being by Luo Qingtong's side for a long time, she had seen many surprises. Although she was surprised, she could still barely control herself. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei stood up fiercely. Young master, you can't agree to them. Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei, and the others were extremely anxious. It was not that they were reluctant to give up the map of the Saint King's tomb. It was because they knew that even if Luo Qingtong really agreed to the other party's wishes, the other party would not let them off easily. They would definitely humiliate and make things difficult for them. Since that was the case, why should they let them get what they wanted so easily? Hu Zhongtian and the others were anxious. Yu Si Huang also frowned as he looked at Luo Qingtong. Little Jioa, the other party, was not a woman who would be taken advantage of so easily. Yu Si Huang and Luo Qingtong had known each other for quite some time. Naturally, he knew that this seemingly petite, gentle, and soft girl had an unruly, cold, and domineering soul. The other party was the same type of person as him and Yi Qianxian. They were born with the domineering aura of a king. If you were to soften up and go along with her requests, she would be fine. Even if you were to go overboard, the girl wouldn't be too calculative with you. However, if someone like the Hua clan's patriarch tried to use force to pressure her and force her to lower her head, then she would definitely not compromise easily. Not to mention that the Hua family would suffer. At the very least, These people who were forcing her should not even think about getting their way. What's going on? Yu Si Huang frowned. He had previously advised Luo Qingtong to release a map of the Saint Monarch's tomb if the situation was not right. However, when he saw the attitude of the Hua clan's patriarch and the others, he knew that this matter was hopeless. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would actually agree? The Hua clan's patriarch and the others were also quite surprised. They had just seen Luo Qingtong's domineering attitude towards Ouyang Shao and the others. They thought that Luo Qingtong would not agree and were already prepared to take action. They did not expect the other party to actually agree. It seemed that this Yijiao was quite self-aware. Chapter 1431. The group of people thought so. Suddenly, Patriarch Hui said proudly, "Ninth young master, please take out the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb." Hu Yin-yang and the others felt their hearts sink when they saw that smug and cold look on his face. However, just as he said that, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded again. "The map of the Saint Monarch's tomb? Why should I take out the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb?" Luo Qingtong looked real and confused. The young man tilted his head slightly and looked at Patriarch Hua and the others. "Yijiao, what do you mean?" Patriarch Hua's face darkened. He looked gloomily in the direction of Luo Qingtong, his face full of anger. "Was this Yijiao playing with him? You just said that you agreed with our opinion, and now you ask us why we should take out the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb?" Patriarch Hua's face was overbearing as he looked at Luo Qingtong condescendingly. "I said that I agreed with your opinion, but I didn't say that I would take out the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb." Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent as she played with the jade fan in her hand. "Didn't you say that the strongest person would be qualified to have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb and be the leader of everyone?" "That's right." Patriarch Hua looked coldly in the direction of Luo Qingtong. "So, do you think that the combined strength of all of you is stronger than all of the top clans?" Patriarch Hua no longer concealed the fact that the top families had joined forces to seize the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in Luo Qingtong's hands. The latter had taken the initiative to jump into their trap and admitted that only those who were strong enough could have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Then, unless she could really find the strength to fight against a group of top-notch families. Otherwise, no matter how she quibbled, the final result would not change. She must hand over the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. He wanted to see what other tricks she could play. Patriarch Hua's eyes were cold, and his words meant that he was determined to get it. There was even a feeling that he wanted to use Luo Qingtong's words to make things difficult for her, even if he got the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. At that moment, the people around Luo Qingtong were stunned. Hu Zhongqian and the others subconsciously began to mobilize the strength in their bodies, preparing to fight Patriarch Hua and the others. Yu Si Huang also suddenly raised his eyebrows. He gestured with his hand and ordered the southern region forces around him to take Luo Qingtong away at all costs. He knew that this woman would not give in. However, after such a fuss, the difficulty of the Saint Monarch's tomb, the tomb would be much more dangerous. He did not care, but it was a little troublesome for Luo Qingtong. After all, she did not have time. The Grand's four courtyards' hidden palace. Luo Qingtong would never miss the opportunity to enter the hidden world and occupy a place there. However, if she ran away from the Saint Monarch's tomb today, Patriarch Hua and the others would definitely hunt her down at all costs. Moreover, the other map of the Saint Monarch's tomb was in the Ouyang family, and the other party would definitely be waiting for her at the entrance of the Saint Monarch's tomb. At that time, Luo Qingtong would lose more than she gained. Even if she wanted to enter the Saint Monarch's tomb alone, she would not be able to. Thinking of this, Yu Si Huang suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong. Did the girl really not think of this? If so, she would not have come to the Saint Monarch's tomb in the first place. Then what was she going to do? Chapter 1432. Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. "That's right. I just feel that our strength is stronger than yours." Luo Qingtong opened the folding fan in her hand and gently fanned herself in front of her. She looked in the direction of Patriarch Hua and the others with an indifferent expression. What a joke! Patriarch was sneered. He looked at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of contempt. If Luo Qingtong had said such words at the beginning, he would have admitted that Luo Qingtong's strength was stronger than theirs, for the sake of Yusi Huang and the southern region's forces behind her. But now he had joined forces with a group of the top families in Wild City, and Luo Qingtong had just offended the Ouyang family. They did not have to worry that the Ouyang family would go back on their word and stand on Luo Qingtong's side. As for the other big and small forces, they were waiting for them to get the map of the Saint King's tomb so that they could follow behind them and take advantage of the situation. Why would they stand on Luo Qingtong's side? It seemed that Luo Qingtong and the others would not be able to get any help at all. Under such circumstances, Luo Qingtong still dared to say that they were stronger than them? This was simply a joke. Did the other party think that they would be afraid by saying this? That's right, Luo Qingtong and the others had been aggressive as soon as they entered the Ouyang family. They even did not hesitate to offend the Ouyang family. Clearly, they felt that such a deliberate act of bravado would cause them to be afraid. They thought that they had a trump card behind them, so they gave up the idea of snatching the map of the Saint King's tomb in their hands. They had a good plan. However, unfortunately, they wouldn't be fooled. Since Ninth Young Master thinks that your strength is stronger than ours, then please show it to us and let us have a look. Otherwise, don't blame us for taking action. Patriarch Hua's face was cold. If Luo Qingtong wanted to humiliate herself, they wouldn't stop her. Let's see what kind of strength she can bring out. Aside from the power brought by Yusi Huang and the others, what other power did she have to rely on? Family who? Huh. The smile on Patriarch Hua's face was cold. He wanted to see how the other party would embarrass himself. What's the hurry? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. From beginning to end, she was not in a hurry. You'll know soon enough. However, I want to confirm one thing first. Will you stop coveting the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb if I'm stronger than you? I won't think of anything else. Shameless solution. At this time, Yu Xingqi quickly followed up on Luo Qingtong's words, and even gave her a mischievous wink. The Hua family's patriarch and the others were furious. They were indeed targeting Luo Qingtong. However, he could do it, but he couldn't say it out loud. Yu Xingqi's words immediately made them feel as if they had been slapped in the face. In particular, the word shameless caused them to feel extremely embarrassed. The Hua clan's patriarch snorted. As long as you can come up with a strength that's not weaker than ours, we won't complain even if you ask us not to participate in this expedition to the Sage Monarch's tomb. However, if you can't bring out the corresponding strength. Chapter 1433. He glanced at Luo Qingtong and the rest with a malicious look and snorted. Then all of you, don't participate in this exploration of the Saint King's tomb, including the Imperial sect leader and all the southern region forces. How about it? Yi Jiao, do you dare to agree? The Hua family head and the rest did not even bother to address him as the Ninth Young Master. In their opinion, Luo Qingtong and the rest could not compare to them at all. Everything that Luo Qingtong said in this clubhouse was just a bluff. Since she wanted to do this, they would let her bluff until the end. They would see if she could bear the consequences of her bluff being broken. The Hua family head's words were very insidious. If Luo Qingtong agreed and did not show that she was stronger than them, then not only would she lose the map of the Saint King's tomb, but she would also not be able to enter the tomb. Not only that, but Yusi Huang and the rest of the southern region forces would also be implicated. At that time, even Yusi Huang's reputation in the southern region would suffer a certain blow. After all, so many people could not enter the Saint King's tomb because he had helped Luo Qingtong and missed the opportunity to obtain the opportunity. This impact on his reputation in the southern region could not be said to be small. The Hua family head's words were extremely harsh. As soon as he said this, there was an uproar on the southern region's side. They did not think that Luo Qingtong and the rest could go against the Hua family and the other top families. Even if they added their strength, it would not be enough. The other party had better admit defeat immediately and then hand over the map of the Saint King's tomb with both hands. This way, they would still have a chance to enter the tomb. Otherwise, they would not be able to keep the map and enter the tomb. The loss would not be worth it. The southern region people were in an uproar. Provoked by the Hua family head's words, they were extremely dissatisfied with Luo Qingtong. King, let's ask her to hand over the map of the Saint King's tomb. Yes, she obviously has no strength, but she still wants to show off. If she implicates us and we can't even enter the tomb, how can they compensate us? My king, don't let Yi Jiao continue to be stubborn. Let her bow down to the Hua family. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to enter the sage monarch's tomb. If you don't have the strength, you should know your place. The people of the southern region could not help but complain. I won't force you. Luo Qingtong looked at them coldly. Yusi Huang brought these southern mountain range people to help her. She naturally remembered his kindness, but it did not mean that she owed these southern mountain range people. Those who were willing to stay were free to do so. If you don't want to stay, then leave immediately. She would definitely not stop him. She, Luo Qingtong, had never needed to rely on anyone to get through difficult times. If that was the case, she would have died countless times already. She didn't care if these people from the southern mountain range wanted to leave. I agreed to Patriarch Hua's request. If you don't want to stay, you can leave now. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Before the people of the southern mountain range could speak, Yusi Huang gently stroked the tear mole at the corner of his eye. His expression was light and charming as he said lazily, I naturally want to follow little Jiao. Chapter 1434. He glanced at the group of people from the southern region coldly and charmingly. If you're willing to follow, then follow. If not, then leave. For those who stay, the imperial sect will be responsible for all your losses. Now, do you have any more nonsense to say? Yusi Huang's smile had always been enchanting and charming, coupled with his devilishly handsome face. For no reason, he gave people the impression that he was easy to talk to. However, at this moment, the smile on his face remained, but the light in his eyes was very cold. The aura around him was unusually cold and powerful, and the people from the southern region did not dare to say another word. This was the true aura of the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. Those who dared to look down on Yusi Huang because of his bewitching appearance, in the end, they wouldn't even know how they died. The group of people from the southern region fell silent. Luo Qingtong glanced at Yusi Huang and did not say anything. Then, she looked at the Hua family head and the others who were waiting to watch a good show and said, Hua family head, did you hear clearly? We agree. Are you sure you want to agree? Don't regret it when the time comes. Say that the Hua family can't make decisions for you. Luo Qingtong said as she glanced at the family heads of the top families. You don't have to worry about this. Of course, we have no objections. The family heads of the top families looked disdainful. Was the other party trying to sow discord and create a rift between them and the Hua family head? Unfortunately, they would not do that at all. There was nothing wrong with the Hua family head's method. Forcing Luo Qingtong and the others to not enter the Saint King's tomb meant that they would have one less enemy. After all, the strength of the people from the southern region was still very strong. The family heads of the top families did not have any objections at all and immediately spoke up. All right. Luo Qingtong looked at them and nodded. Ouyang family head, everyone, did you hear what they said? When the results are out later, you won't speak up for them anymore, right? Luo Qingtong said and looked up at the head of the Ouyang family who was sitting on the main seat. Since the beginning of the meeting, the latter had been leading the Ouyang family's people and coldly watching the Hua family's patriarch and the others attack Luo Qingtong and the others. When he heard Luo Qingtong's words, he immediately looked up at her. Of course not. Our Ouyang clan will naturally make a fair decision. Ouyang family head looked at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of mockery. This Yi Jiao, was he unable to find any breakthrough points or support? He had actually led the topic to himself and the others. Unfortunately, no matter how serious she sounded or how certain she was, he would not stop the Hua family head and the others from taking action. He was just waiting to see how unlucky she was. How would he explain to the imperial sect behind Yu Si Huang? According to his knowledge, within the imperial school, the Yu siblings were not the only ones who had the qualifications to inherit the imperial school. At this moment, Yu Si Huang was supporting Yi Jiao with all his might, looking awe-inspiring and insufferably arrogant. However, if the foundation of the imperial school was shaken because of this matter, he was afraid that the person in the imperial school would not let it go easily. At that time, not to mention that Yu Si Huang's status as the king of the southern region and his reputation would be damaged. Even his position as the imperial school's patriarch would not be stable. Chapter 1435. If you don't have any more, then please show us what you've got. If you're not as good as Patriarch Hua and the others, then we can only ask you to leave the Grand Assembly of the Saint King's Tomb. After all, those who were not qualified to enter the Saint King's Tomb had no reason to stay. Was that not the case? Patriarch Ouyang's face was cold. After he spoke, before Luo Qintong could speak, a voice suddenly sounded from outside. Patriarch! Patriarch! As this urgent voice rang out, a figure rushed in from outside in an instant. It was a guard from the Ouyang family. His feet barely touched the ground as he rushed into the venue like a whirlwind. His voice was urgent and urgent. Impudent! Where's this place? How can you make such a ruckus? Patriarch Ouyang was scolding Luo Qintong. Before he could finish his humiliating words, he was interrupted in front of everyone. Moreover, the Ouyang family guard looked panicked. That hurried figure looked as if he was rolling and crawling as he ran in. This immediately made the Ouyang family head lose his face. In a wildland city, all the major and minor forces were present. Who would not give the Ouyang family some face? Moreover, even if these people were not present, what force in the wildland city was worthy of the Ouyang family's guard being so panicked? It was really embarrassing. With that thought in mind, the Ouyang family's head was about to order the people around him to drag the Ouyang family's guard away. The guard had just rushed in from outside. Before he could say anything, he was about to be dragged away by Patriarch Ouyang. He suddenly felt anxious. No, Patriarch. Just as he opened his mouth, an extremely hearty voice suddenly rang out from the outside at this moment. The Ouyang family is taking the lead in organizing the Grand Assembly of the Saint King's Tomb. I wonder if our people from the Dark Colors Arena have the opportunity and honor to participate in the Grand Assembly of the Saint King's Tomb. As this voice rang out, the body of the Ouyang clan guard who had come to report the news shook violently. His eyes were filled with fear and respect as he looked at the entrance. Someone from the Dark Color Arena, in Savage City, and even in the Western Wastelands, who was the most intimidating force? It wasn't the Ouyang clan or any other clan. It was the Dark Color Arena. Translator, WQL Editor. Alim, this arena was the largest and most powerful force in Far West Wilderness where pioneers vented their negative emotions and ferocious chi. However, it had never participated in the disputes of the Far West Wilderness. Moreover, it was rumored that the power behind it came from the hidden world. Therefore, no one would deliberately provoke them. Therefore, when most people mentioned the forces of the Far West Wilderness, they would skip over them. Even the Ouyang family head was no exception. For so many years, the people of the Dark Color Arena had never participated in anything in the Far West Wilderness. The Ouyang clan, Hua clan, and other top clans relied on this opportunity to rise to power. Therefore, they did not expect that the Dark Colors Arena would participate in the Sage Monarch's Tomb incident. Ouyang family head and the others had automatically excluded the existence of the dark-colored arena from the very beginning of the invitation. Chapter 1436. This was the first time in the history of the Far West Wilderness. One had to know that the last time the Dark Colosseum sent people out, it was during the darkest period of power struggle in the Western Wilderness. The various forces were fighting to divide the territories in the Wild City and the far west wilderness. Someone had offended the Dark Colosseum, and his entire family was annihilated. That force was the #1 force in the Ouyang clan. After the Ouyang clan was annihilated, the Ouyang clan, as one of the top clans, took the opportunity to rise to the top. And the strength and status of that first force in the far west wilderness was much higher than that of the current Ouyang clan. At this moment, everyone was shocked when they heard that the people from the Dark Colosseum had arrived. Bang! 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 The Ouyang clan master and the rest of the top forces stood up and looked in the direction of the door where the sound came from. There a group of figures walked towards them. The aura of each figure was not weaker than the experts of the top clans behind the Ouyang clan master and the rest. They were not much weaker than the Ouyang clan master and the rest. The man at the front had an imposing aura, and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. The aura around him was not obvious, but the Ouyang clan master and the rest took a deep breath when they saw him. Director Chung. The person who came was the person in charge of the Dark Colosseum in the Wild City. At the same time, he was also the person in charge of the Dark Colosseum in the far west wilderness. The group of people from the Dark Colosseum entered the Ouyang clan's martial arts field. When the crowd saw this group of people approaching, they could not help but hold their breaths. The Dark Colosseum had never participated in the matters of the far west wilderness. Why was it making an exception this time? The crowd looked at Director Chung and the rest as they walked closer. They did not know the purpose of the Dark Colosseum's visit. The Ouyang clan master and the rest were even more shocked. If the Dark Colosseum also participated in the exploration of the Saint King's tomb, then the chances of them gaining something, especially a great harvest, would be much smaller. The Ouyang clan master, especially, frowned when he thought of the agreement between himself and Feng Wan. However, he did not show it on his face. Haha, Director Chung, your presence brings light to the Ouyang clan's humble dwelling. As he spoke, he walked towards Chief Steward Chung with a face full of smiles. Ouyang clan master, you're too kind. Director Chung looked at the Ouyang clan master and the Hua clan master who were not far behind him. He smiled and said, "We're here this time. We're here to participate in the grand meeting of the Saint King's tomb. As for the exploration of the Saint King's tomb, we're not participating." As soon as he spoke, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. It would be great if the Dark Color Arena did not participate in the exploration of the Saint Monarch's tomb. The Ouyang clan master, Ouyang clan master, Ouyang clan master's of Saint clan was ancient. Ouyang clan, sex Ouyang peak, the realm, Ouyang clan's realm. With this thought in mind, everyone's minds immediately relaxed. Ouyang, Colosseum, peak of the Dark Call, of the sect of, peak, alalalalalalalize of is. Chapter 1437. Then, Chief Steward Chung, your purpose here is... Ouyang family head looked at Chief Steward Chung and the others. He glanced at the group of experts from the dark-colored arena behind Chief Steward Chung. From the looks of it, they didn't seem like they were just here to stroll around the Sage Monarch's tomb. Moreover, they weren't even planning to participate in the Sage Monarch's tomb conference. Why would they want to stroll around? Unless... As Ouyang family head thought of this, his face suddenly turned cold. Behind him, Hua family head and the others seemed to have thought of something, and their faces suddenly turned solemn. Just as their faces turned solemn, Luo Qingtong's voice suddenly rang out. "Chief Steward Chung, come over here." As soon as Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, everyone's eyes instantly turned to Luo Qingtong's direction. They saw a delicate young man in green robes with a jade crown tying his hair where family, whose people were. His expression was indifferent as he fiddled with the folding fan in his hand. He raised his eyes slightly and looked in the direction of Chief Steward Chung. He raised his hand and pointed in the direction of the empty space beside him. Hu Yin-yang and the others all moved to the side, and the empty space that they moved out of was extremely dazzling, appearing in front of everyone's eyes. What shocked them even more was that Chief Steward Chung didn't refute Luo Qingtong's words. He just smiled gently and then led the group of people from the dark-colored arena. They walked in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They didn't know what to feel. The people from the dark-colored arena were actually here for Luo Qingtong and the others. When they thought of what Chief Steward Chung had said and saw this scene, how could they not understand what was going on? No wonder Chief Steward Chung said that they were here to participate in the Sage Monarch's Tomb conference and not to participate in the exploration of the Sage Monarch's Tomb. It turned out that they were here to support Luo Qingtong and the others. When they thought of the bet that Luo Qingtong had just made with Hua Family Head and the others, everyone's eyes immediately focused on Hua Family Head and the other top family heads. The moment Luo Qingtong spoke and Chief Steward Chung and the others walked over, the latter and the others had already turned pale. Especially Hua Family Head. His face looked as if it had been painted with a layer of white paint. There was no color in his face. Luo Qingtong and the others had actually invited the people from the dark-colored arena to support them. How is this possible? How could the other party have such an ability? One should know that the people from the dark-colored arena would not easily get involved in the far western wilderness's fights. This was a rule in the dark arena. This was one's rules. Even Chief Steward Chung, as the person in charge of the dark-colored arena in the far west wilderness, had to abide by the rules. Thinking of this, Hua Family Head and the others felt a little relieved. No matter how this Yi Jiao had invited the other party, with this rule, the other party could not interfere in the matters between them and Yi Jiao. At that time, they would still win. While Hua Family Head and the others were feeling relieved, Yu Si Huang looked at Chief Steward Chung and the others walking over. He suddenly smiled and looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "I didn't expect little Jiao to have such a move." As he spoke, he transmitted a message to Luo Qingtong in a low voice. "You used the guest token." Chapter 1438. No wonder the girl was so confident. She didn't care about the people from the southern region behind him. He was worried for nothing. With the strength of the Dark Colosseum, even if all the southern region forces behind him left, the people from the Dark Colosseum alone were enough to embarrass clan head Hua and the others. The pit that these people had dug for Luo Qingtong was all retribution on them. All he had to do was watch over them. When the time came, it would be too late for regrets. Thinking like this, Yu Si Huang suddenly chuckled and relaxed his body that was ready to go. He released all of the aura that he had gathered around him. With the people from the Dark Colosseum present, this battle couldn't be fought. Of course, Clan Head Hua and the others could forget about snatching the map of the Saint King's tomb from Luo Qingtong. Yu Si Huang's face was happy, but Hu Yin-yang and Hu Zhongtian's faces were full of surprise. They didn't know that Luo Qingtong had the Dark Colosseum's guest token. They didn't know that after Luo Qingtong dealt with the people sent by Clan Head Hua, they had a premonition that the people from the Hua clan wouldn't leave it at that. In addition, the Ouyang clan was obviously on Feng Wan's side. Just in case, Luo Qingtong left family Hu at that time and went to the Dark Colosseum. She used the guest token as the price to invite the people from the Dark Colosseum to help her. For the matter of the far west wilderness, no matter who she invited, it would be more intimidating than the people from the Dark Colosseum. However, after using the guest token, Luo Qingtong couldn't refuse the invitations and enlistments of the Dark Colosseum in the future. She was going to the hidden world from the beginning. Moreover, the enlistment of the Dark Colosseum was still early, so Luo Qingtong wasn't in a hurry. After the people from the Dark Colosseum walked to Luo Qingtong's side, Manager Chung immediately nodded slightly to Luo Qingtong and said, "Ninth young master, I respectfully listen to your orders." The two of them had already dealt with each other. The dark-colored arena's guest elder medallion was never easily given out. In order to prevent people from abusing their position for personal gain and recklessly issuing guest elder tokens before using them, there would be a test. As for Luo Qingtong, she was the fastest and the best among all the people Chief Steward Chung had received. Chief Steward Chung had never seen someone as powerful as Wendell. It was as if this line of work was completely made for her. After confirming Luo Qingtong's strength, he he was naturally very polite to Luo Qingtong. After all, a guest elder with such literary skills might not be worth much in the outside world, and there was nothing worth paying attention to. However, to the people of the Dark Color Arena, he was a VIP among VIPs. Even if someone from the headquarters came, they probably wouldn't dare to be too presumptuous in front of Luo Qingtong. After all, they still had to rely on Luo Qingtong's literary skills in the future. Chief Steward Cheng's attitude towards Luo Qingtong was very gentle and could even be said to be respectful. Seeing his actions, the surrounding people, including Hu Yinyang and the others, were shocked. The difference was that Hu Yinyang and the others were surprised and delighted. However, the surrounding people looked at Luo Qingtong with surprise and a bad feeling. Wasn't this Chief Steward Cheng's attitude towards Yi Jiao too respectful? Who exactly was the latter? Chapter 1439. Everyone had been in Wild City for so long, but they had never seen Chief Steward Cheng be so respectful and gentle to anyone. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. As for Patriarch Hua and the others, their jaws almost dropped, especially Patriarch Ouyang. He had just spoken nonsense to Luo Qingtong, saying that if she couldn't show the corresponding strength, she should immediately leave the Sage Monarch's Tomb Convention. His words were polite, but everyone could tell from his tone that he was telling Luo Qingtong and the others to leave if they couldn't show the strength. However, before he could finish his words, a group of people from the Dark Colors Arena arrived. He absolutely didn't believe that Luo Qingtong hadn't prepared for a rainy day. The other party had actually been guarding against them from the beginning. They came to the banquet not because they couldn't think of anything else, nor because they were forced by the situation. They had come prepared. The head of the Ouyang family gritted his teeth so hard that they made cracking sounds. The Hua clan head and the others had an even uglier expression on their faces. They had previously guessed that Chief Steward Cheng and the others were here to support Yi Jiao. They didn't expect that the other party didn't hide it at all and presented it in front of them. Everyone clenched their teeth. Holding on to the last glimmer of hope, Patriarch was suddenly took a step forward and asked, Chief Steward Cheng, if your people from the Dark Colors Arena aren't going to explore the Sage Monarch's tomb, why did you come to this convention? Patriarch only hoped to hear an answer that was different from what he had imagined. However, he was disappointed. We came because of the 9th Young Lord's order. Chief Steward Cheng said this and looked at Patriarch Hua and the others' ugly expressions. He raised his eyebrows and said, What's wrong? Patriarch Hua, are you dissatisfied with the arrival of our people from the Dark Colors Arena? As he spoke, his expression had already darkened slightly. Patriarch Hua and the others' expressions became even uglier. How could they dare to say that they were dissatisfied with the arrival of the people from the Dark Colors Arena? The other party only came to the Sage Monarch's Tomb Convention and didn't do anything. But the bad thing was that they had just made a bet with Luo Qingtong. They were betting that the strength of her side was not as strong as that of the top families. However, the appearance of the people from the dark-colored arena had caused their plans to be destroyed. Not only that, but they also reaped what they sowed. The Hua clan's patriarch trembled and almost fainted when he thought of the suggestion that those who were not strong enough would not be allowed to participate in the exploration of the Sage Monarch's tomb. The patriarchs of the other top clans had the same reaction and expression as him. Everyone looked as if they had lost their parents. Seeing this, Chief Steward Cheng raised his eyebrows and looked at Luo Qingtong, asking, "Ninth young master, what's going on?" "It's nothing." Luo Qingtong chuckled as she looked at the Hua family's patriarch and the others who looked like they were about to faint. She chuckled softly and said, "It's just that the Hua family's patriarch made a bet with me. Now that they're about to lose, they can't take it anymore." Not only were they unable to withstand it, the Hua clan's clan head and the others even had thoughts of suicide. They were just waiting to see Luo Qingtong and the others being driven out by the Ouyang family's clan head. In the end, they didn't expect that they would be the ones to lose in the end. How could the Hua clan's clan head and the others accept this? Chapter 1440. Although they didn't know what had just happened, judging from the expressions of the whole family head and the others, it wasn't a good thing, and the consequences should have been borne by Luo, Qingtong, and the others. Interesting. This Yijio was quite cunning. She had deliberately made them set off after the middle of the Sage Monarch's Tomb convention. If she had sent the signal, they wouldn't have to come. If she hadn't sent the signal, they would have come directly to the Sage Monarch's Tomb convention. Obviously, she had thought that there might be people who would make things difficult for her in the Sage Monarch's Tomb convention. She had found them in advance and made preparations. While Chief Steward Chung was thinking this, the Hua family's patriarch and the others were also unwilling to accept defeat, especially the Hua family head. He suddenly took a step forward, his eyes bloodshot. He looked at Manager Chung like a tiger trapped in a cage. Manager Chung, the Dark Colosseum has never participated in the disputes of the factions in Wildland City. You all made an oath back then. Are you going to break that oath now? Following the Hua family head's words, the other family heads of the top families also spoke up. Yes, Manager Chung, even if you're friends with Yijio, you can't use the Dark Colosseum's strength to help her, right? That's right. This is against the Dark Colosseum's rules. Yijio, the Dark Colosseum's people can't make a move. They can't be your backer. The Hua family head and the others were ready to use a trick to change the rules. Even if the Dark Colosseum's people were here to help Luo Qingtong, they couldn't make a move, so they couldn't be considered Yijio's backer. The group of people made a solemn vow, as if they had found the trick to resurrecting the dead. However, Luo Qingtong only raised her eyebrows and looked at Manager Chung. Manager Cheng's expression darkened. He looked at the Hua family head and the others with an unfriendly expression. Are you saying that I abused my authority and used the Dark Colosseum's strength to help Yijio? Isn't that the case? The Dark Colosseum has never interfered with the matters of the Far West Wilderness. And you're obviously here for Yijio. The Hua family head and the others did not want to offend this Chief Steward Chung. However, at this point, if they did not offend the other party, they would lose the qualification to enter the tomb. Moreover, since the other party was acquainted with this Yijio, no matter if he offended the other party or not, the enmity between them had already been formed, so why should he be so afraid? With that thought in mind, everyone immediately spoke up. You think too highly of me. I don't have the ability to use the Dark Arena strength, and I don't have the ability to mobilize so many experts. Since you know that there are rules in the Dark Arena, then you should know that even though I'm in charge of the Dark Arena, I can't go against the rules of the Dark Arena and bring so many people here. Mind your own business. At this point, Chief Steward Chung said coldly, Ninth Young Master Yi is our Dark Color Arena's VIP. Of course, I have something that can use the power of the Dark Arena. As for what it is, you don't need to know. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.